Hey world.
Hey Dallas.
I'm Alvin.
I'm Charles.
And welcome to Tit for Tat.
This and that.
Today we are going to be talking about open relationships versus closed relationships, monogamous, and then polyamorous,
Throuples,
and any other ones we throw in there.
And of course monogamy.
Right.
You know,
right.
We'll cover that too.
Yeah, because one of my friends, he's strictly a side, and
oh yeah,
and that's. But there's so many relationship dynamics. Relationships are just like everything else; they fall on the spectrum.
Yeah, but style would be more of like your position. So you could be a side in a closed, you can be a side in the open, you can be a side just like you can be a top or verse or bottom. In either one of those. So
that wouldn't that necessarily fit in with our topic today.
No, but hey, hopefully we say something that will enlighten people, maybe even question what they're in, or even question like, would this be a good thing for me? Because I don't believe that we're here to make anyone feel, bad about their choices, or we want to just shed light on them, and they're not going to be for everybody. Just like open is not for everybody, a closed may not be for everybody. Right. So, whatever you decide to do as far as relationships, what kind of relationship you're going to have, that's up to you. And hopefully you're surrounded by a community that embraces that and doesn't judge you or whatever.
Right.
I think that's maybe why a lot of times society has frowned upon open relationships, because we don't set an atmosphere for that to be like an okay thing. We say, oh no, that's sinful, or that's what we put this stereotype or whatever on it. So a lot of them are going to stay closeted. I think that's the same thing with the DM men. I'm going to stay closeted because you guys are making, even though they got some stuff going on within themselves. But you're right. They got some stuff going on within themselves, but also society has not really made it, all that welcoming for DL people to come out, because they think, they're deceiving, or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, there's no judgment here. I think people need to make, get into or don't get into the type of relationships that fit, that fits you. It's right for for those of the ones who are going to be in it.
Right.
If you're the monogamous type, then I say, my own opinion is, if you're the monogamous type, then don't get into a relationship that's going to be, where the other person wants to be open or poly or throuple or anything, like that. Although in a throuple, you can be monogamous too. It's it'll be just you three, and you can also be committed and monogamous in those relationships.
Yes.
But also and I use the word committed, but just because you're in an open relationship doesn't mean you're not committed.
Right.
Or just because you're in a poly, that doesn't mean that you're not committed to your, to your partner,
Right.
or to, to the ones that are involved. But as far as monogamy goes, that's closed is monogamy, and then that means you're only sexually in a monogamous relationship.
With that one person.
Right, you're committed to that one person and nobody else.
Right.
And I think before you get into these relationships, though, all of this bears some discussion. I don't know if you need to do it just right away, like if you're dating somebody, right? But as you start dating, to me, and if you start progressing, and it might look like it's going to lead to a relationship or something, and you could, like, say you get, because usually when you're just dating,
Right.
You don't know anything about the person,
Right.
or whatever. So you got to kind of get to know different things about the person, and they got to get to know you. And then somewhere down the line, if you're continuing to date and it gets like, it seems like you both want to get serious with each other, and you might start discussing relationship before you actually get in that relationship. I think you need to discuss the dynamics of what do you like as far as like, monogamy, monogamish,
Right.
polyamory. What do you like to, this or whatever, and then it gives both persons the option to either opt in or opt out. I don't think that you should get into it because you're just doing it because you really want that person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You just really want that person, and you want to be in a relationship with that person. So you're going to just settle and take whatever, even though you're monogamous.
Right.
But they're more open or would open to something like that.
I like what you said about commitment, because commitment looks different. And with each relationship, your commitment, because you're in a monogamous relationship, your commitment is to that one person. But a person that may be poly or in a throuple, their commitment is to each other or whatever. And you're like, well, that you're not committed to that one person, but their boundaries are different. The structure of their relationship is different. So they have commitment, but commitment is not restrained. I'm committed, but our commitment looks like I'm gonna do everything I said I'm gonna do with you. I'm gonna do everything I said I'm gonna do with you, or whatever. So your commitment may have restraints, and but their commitment may not, and it looks a little bit different, but it's still committed because they haven't went out of the bounds of what they have agreed to. And then the other thing you said about the dating, I think I would get to know this early on. Like, we might talk about this maybe the first or second day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if I'm looking to be in a relationship and I want to date you, I don't want to waste my time.
But you would do that on the first or second date, you mean?
Well, if the date is having, if our conversations are having in dates, then yes. But sometimes, before we meet people, we may have the phone conversation. I guess depending on how you meet them or whatever. Right. Because lately, like, if I meet somebody for the most, it depends, because I meet people out too. But say I'm on the apps or whatever, I meet you, we're gonna have that phone conversation first, or whatever, because I'm not gonna initially come out, because I don't know who this is on the other side of this, picture or this profile or whatever. So I want to have those conversations first to feel comfortable with you or whatever. And so in those conversations, I think this is going to come up early, because I don't want to waste my time. Because if I'm not a match for you, say, we meet and I'm interested. Say you're into polyamory. So I want to know that, up front on this first, second conversation, because I can already tell you, hey, I don't want that. We might as well just cut this off. If we want to work towards a friendship, we can. But as for a relationship, I can already tell you, no, I'm not going there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I, like, I'm not on the dating app, so, but if I was, I don't know if I'm pretty sure I probably wouldn't be discussing that the first, like the first or second time from talking to them, because I have to see people, even for me to get comfortable with them. So even if I was on the dating apps, you know, even just talking to them, whatever they're typing through there or saying and stuff, you know, like that, even though I can hear it or something, I'm not necessarily going to be taking any of that as truth or whatever, because I pretty much know how they act on those apps, and a lot of stuff they say is lies, and even, you know, like even putting up fake profiles and pictures and stuff, you know, like that. I have to kind of be in front of the person or whatever, so because you know, and I kind of listen to what they say, take in what they say, and then body language and all that stuff. I kind of take all of that in, and then I kind of see how they react to stuff that I'm saying too, you know, or whatever. And so if that came up on the dating apps or whatever, you know, I'm probably, if it came up on the dating apps, then and they said that they wanted to be, you know, they're into poly or open relationships and stuff, you know, like that, then with me, that wouldn't even go any further unless we just don't have sex, you know.
Exactly.
And if we're just gonna meet for sex and then that's it,
then I'm okay.
So whatever, then that's probably, you know, what if I'm attracted to whatever you said in your profile, and then you send me a picture, and I actually think, well, that might be that person or whatever, because I am visual. But what they're saying to me probably goes in and out like a grain of salt or whatever and stuff. I'm not going to care whether they're poly and, you know, whatever and stuff, you know, like that. But it says here, you know, it says closed relationships, also known as monogamous relationships, are based on the ideal that both partners will fulfill each other's romantic needs. Some say that closed relationships can lead to people smothering each other and eventually failing. However, closed relationships can provide a sense of belonging, support, and validation. So this smothering thing,
to me, when I saw, because I saw the same thing in my research too. I think that some people can get clingy. You know what I mean? Right. And I guess if that's an issue with you, first of all, you should communicate that to your partner, you know, in a way where it doesn't hurt them or, you know, make them feel bad. But just let them know, hey, it's kind of, you know, an issue of us. You know, we need to do other things or whatever. But to me, if you are dead set on being in a monogamous relationship, just because someone is clingy or smothering or whatever, that to me, that's not going to lead me to be like, oh yeah, I want to be with other people. Because who's to say they're not going to be clingy as well, or, you know, like you say, the grass it may not be green on the other side. You know? So that smothering thing, it's.
Do you think that like the smothering thing comes in more with people who are more introverted than extroverted? You know, because they, you know, like people who are true introverts or whatever. Do you think because they, you know, they need their space and time away from anybody? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of them don't like even crowds. A lot of them, or they can function in crowds, but it's kind of not for long, or just, you know, or whatever. But I think when I had heard that before, you know, the smothering thing or whatever, I hear it mostly out of people who say that they are introverted, you know, but I think that the two can balance each other out. You know, if one is introverted and one is extroverted, but then the one that's extroverted, you know, if once you start knowing your partner or whatever stuff, you know, like that, you can give them their space and stuff like that, because you can go out and hang out with your friends or go hang out with your family or go do something or whatever, and then let them have their downtime to do whatever, and then you come back home.
Stay right there for a minute, friends. Okay, so I am an introvert, but I have extrovert ways. So I'll tell you this, for anybody that is dating an introvert, this is bound to happen. You are going to become their friend. because you are now a place of safety. You are now a place of I can be vulnerable with you. I can tell my secrets, you know. So I'm very comfortable with you. So first of all, a true introvert is probably not going to have a lot of friends anyway, because they're like to themselves. They're not that outgoing or whatever. So you just added to the few number of friends I have, but you're the friend that sees me naked. You know what I mean? You're the friend that sees all of me. You know what I mean? Or whatever. So you hold a big place to me or whatever. So if I'm that comfortable with you, hell yeah, I want to spend a lot of time with you.
The introvert.
Yeah. And so so I can, like you said, you heard that, and I'm validating what you're saying, because I could see that happening. But that introvert that's why the communication needs to be there. And the communication needs to be, hey, I love all the time we spend together, but I think we, and all the, reasons you had or whatever. But you're right. We can have the tendency to make you that friend now. You're not just the boyfriend and the lover now. You are friend, because I feel so safe with you, and I'm an introvert, and I'm not safe with everybody. That's why I'm an introvert, and that's why I have a few, a low number of friends or whatever. So yeah, I want to be around you. I want to be around people that I feel safe with or whatever. So yeah, I can see an introvert being a smuggler.
Because the introvert is not getting out as much and doing stuff too. So then they're smothering,
because you become their friend.
You become everything to them.
Yes,
so then in an open relationship, would more jealousy come into that then? If like when just say the extroverted person goes out or whatever, does jealousy, since you are everything to that person or whatever, and you don't want to really go out that much, or you don't want to go hang out with them and their friends, or you know what I'm saying? You like the comfort of the house and watching TV and just doing whatever introverts do in the house,
right.
or around the yard, or whatever,
whatever
you would do, scrolling and playing.
Okay.
But so then what? In order for you to get your little, the time for yourself, for your me time or whatever, the extrovert would probably, go out and hang out with their friends and go do stuff or whatever. Does that bring in a twinge of jealousy or something which, like, because if you get into this open relationship concept, would that, would there be jealousy and stuff there?
And I guess every introvert is different, but for me, I don't have a problem with you hanging out with your friends. I'm just telling you that I'm gonna be. I want to be with you more too. So you're gonna have to
sit. You should be with your partner more.
Right.
You still gotta have time for yourself, and they gotta have time for them.
And you're probably gonna have to tell me that, because I'm gonna probably be so selfish with you that I want to be. I want to be with you all the time or whatever, because of my introvertness, and now I've made you a friend. So I talk more to you than I do my friends or whatever, and they know some dirt too, but you know all the stuff you don't want to talk about, but you do too, in a way, especially as far as me being a partner. You have the facts of, am I a great partner? Am I an okay partner? And so I all that information is out there with you. So you're a person that I can trust, because when we're up and when we're down, all of that. But for me, I wouldn't have a problem if my extrovert boyfriend or whatever was out and about. I wouldn't get jealous or whatever. But like I said, everyone is different. So for me, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't.
So in a closed relationship, then that's you think that's where most of the smothering would come in? Then is in a closed relationship, and where the jealousy and the smothering, because I think with the smothering also, there's going to come issues with that. If it's too much smothering or whatever, there's going to come issues with that. And then it depends on how to me, it depends on how often that person in that monogamous relationship is actually going hanging out with their friends.
Right.
You know, or hanging out in the clubs and stuff. My thing is, to me, if you're in a closed monogamous relationship, that's just my opinion. I don't know if you need to be hanging out in a club without your partner.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even if you are with your besties and stuff, you know, like that. I mean, it can be well innocent and stuff, you know, like that. But we all know what happens in clubs and parties and stuff, you know, like that when you go and then you're not with your partner or whatever. You know, we've all seen, you know, it doesn't happen to, I think it doesn't happen to everybody out, you know, most people out there, you know, somebody's going to hit on you even if they know you're in a relationship. Sometimes they hit on you because they know you in a relationship, you know, but, you know, they might be hitting on you or flirting with you or whatever, but as long as you don't cross the line. But in a closed relationship, that can still bring a twinge of, to me, like jealousy or something on the partner who doesn't go and hang out like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or I'm not saying that it does happen. You know, well, I know that it does happen in a lot of relationships, but it doesn't always happen in every relationship. I mean, we all have some twinge of jealousy and insecurity. It's in all of us because we're human, right? But you know, I think
because no matter how big and bad you are, nobody wants to be rejected.
I think with me, you know, I'm not a jealous person. I don't get jealous because of the, you know, who I'm with or whatever. I have, with most things about me, I'm not a jealous person, you know, whatever. And I won't get jealous or upset or something if the person that I'm with, you know, goes out with their friends or something, or occasionally goes and does this or something. You know what I'm saying? I think my jealousies and insecurities would come out. My jealousies and insecurities would probably come out in an open relationship. You know, myself personally, I've never done an open relationship. I've never done a poly, you know, I've never done, you know, whatever. In my mind, I've always thought that I was in a monogamous relationship. But the truth of the fact is, not just with gays and queers and stuff, you know, like that, but in the regular heterosexual heteronormative society or whatever, you know, they all think that they're in monogamous relationships. I think most of us, when we get into monogamous relationships, we think that's what we're in. But if there's one person that's in there cheating or both are cheating, then you're really not in a monogamous relationship. But in our minds, we're getting into a monogamous relationship. In our minds, we think we're in a monogamous relationship. But the reality of the situation is, most people who in this world are not really in monogamous relationships as much as you think that you are, because usually, not all, but usually, and especially among men, but it's prevalent among women also, you know, whatever, but especially among men, they have either cheated once or twice, or they continue to cheat throughout the relationship until you find out, or something happens that makes them stop, or you end the relationship or whatever. So mainly, you know, I'm going to say, you know, it's just my opinion, but I'm going to say probably about 80 to 90% of all monogamous relationships aren't really monogamous. It's in our head. So monogamous relationship.
So how do you feel about this? So the reason why some people are for polyamorous relationships is they feel like no one person can fulfill all of my needs. Like, you are not gonna be able to feel like the spiritual connections I may have. You're not gonna be able to, then, you know, you could be like, well, you don't fulfill the my adventurous side. So it's like they feel like the reason why I'm for a polyamorous relationship is because I can get, hey Jay and Joe,
for joining us, guys.
I can get different I can get different needs met from each person or whatever. So that's one question. Like, I mean, Is that like bullshit to you or whatever? And then the other question is, do you actually believe that there is one person that can be your all in all?
Well, I don't think anybody can be anybody's all in all. If you get into a relationship, that's just like a friendship, anything, even family, anything. No one can be your everything, you know.
Right.
And that's where some of the, if you think they are, that's where some of the, if you think they can and they are, that's where some of the smothering could come from. Yeah. And then and that's where some of the jealousy and envy can also come in also, because you don't put so much on that relation, you know, on that person and on that relationship that the person cannot live up to, as far as like monogamy goes, right?
Right.
You know, nobody can live up to you being everything, because you're going to end up getting disappointed. Yes. A lot, you know. Right. Relationships require a lot of communication. They, you know, they don't have to be hard, you know what I mean? They don't have to be a whole lot of work or whatever, but you still got to put some work in. Right. And there's going to be sometimes where there's going to be disagreements and, you know, maybe arguments and stuff, you know, like that. It all depends on how you handle that type of stuff. But if you're always arguing with that person, you know, or whatever, or getting into it or getting your feelings and stuff hurt because you put so much into that person and that relationship, like they're your all in all, and you can't survive without them, or I can't live without you, that type of mentality, then it's going to be trouble, you know, or whatever. And then also, even with the monogamy part of it and stuff, you know, like that, there's always that chance, you know, that person is going to be one or the other is going to be messing around. Not all the time, because there are some people who are built for monogamy. And that doesn't mean just because you're built for monogamy that you didn't cheat in some form of relationship or something, or that you won't or something, you know, like that. But it really just means that you prefer monogamy over anything, any other type of relationship, and that you have the potential and capacity to be monogamous in a relationship. And there's a lot of people, especially men, you know, and I hate to be picking on men, but there's a lot of people who say they want monogamy, you know, and they prefer monogamy, but they're really not built for monogamy, you know. But we talked about this last week, but you know, they want you to be monogamous, you know, or whatever, and they want to be able to slip around and do whatever they want to do, whether they want to be, you know, whether it's getting caught or not, but you know, they want that option to be able for them to do it, but they don't want you to do it. That's why some people will get into a monogamous relationship knowing that they're going to cheat, knowing that they are cheaters, or knowing that they do cheat. They will still get into a monogamous relationship with you because they know that you're probably the monogamous person, and then they might feel secure with you in that relationship because they know that you're monogamous, but they're not really going to be.
And it's something about being in a relationship, because my thing is, you didn't have to get in a relationship. You could have just did what, you know, you could do all that stuff you want to do without you know, bringing me into it, or whatever. But you chose, knowing that you're a cheater, to be in a relationship. Why? Because there's something about being in a relationship. There's something about having that safe place I can always go to. Like, I can go out here and do this, but this the one, you know. It's almost like some of those girls that you know, they got all these dudes or whatever, and probably guys too. They got all these other people, but there's one that maybe has, you know, maybe the power dynamics, maybe they, you know, maybe they're the one that's more successful, or they're the ones, you know, they got good specs, and you know, they're the ones that are stable, and you know, they're not moving around or whatever. You know, they're dependable, whatever. They're trustworthy. That's your main one. You know what I mean? And so they'll get into stuff like that because they know when all these other little fake things you're doing over here, all this, you know, whatever, it's the one you can always count on, or whatever. But my thing is, just stay out there. Don't put me in that mess.
Right. Do you think, what's your opinion on, and anybody out there, you know, send in your comments on this, you know, what we're talking about here too. Do you think that most people get into open relationships or you know, not so much, I don't know if open relationships, do you think most people get into open relationships, or polyamorous relationships because it's more sexual than anything, or I mean, what's your opinion on that? Like, as far as like, I mean, because when they get into these open relationships, you think it's mainly because it's sexual that they're getting into the open relationships, or more sexual in nature?
So I do think that from what I've heard or what I've just experienced, I guess, it seems like that. I mean, like what I've heard, not what I haven't. Well, we'll get to that. But I mean, I haven't like went out and like took polls or whatever. But what I've seen that I know of is what I'm saying is that so what I'm saying is I've never seen anybody just like off the street just say, "Hey, I want an open relationship." I've never seen people just ask for that. What I have seen is that couples that have been together for a minute have decided, "Hey, we're kind of bored with this. Let's open it up." And they let people in or whatever. So that's how I see them beginning. Oh, that's that I know. Then maybe some people just from out the gate, it'd be like, look, all I want is open. You know what? I just want open or whatever. But the stories and even some of the research that I'll share later or whatever that I asked the friends, it's that they're already in a relationship and they decided that, hey, we want to bring people in or whatever, so they opened it or whatever. So so that, but for me, I don't know if that that will be something that I could personally do. Now I have tried it and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it later somewhere in the show, I guess. But I don't think I'm built like that or whatever. Or I can do that if I'm just single. Right. I can be, hey, as long as it's safe, whatever.
Single, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Exactly.
As long as you're not hurting anyone.
Exactly. But in a relationship, I'm like, I want to know that you're with me, that you're mine. I don't know. I don't want to know that I'm sharing you with everybody, or that there could be somebody else that does a certain thing better than me, and that there's a possibility that you may get drawn away from me. I want to know that everything that you need is here with me, so there's no reason for you to go.
Right. Jay and Joe, they said cheating is not a gender-specific act. Men cheat, women cheat, black and white. Fact is, everybody is not built for, and not everybody wants a monogamous relationship, and that's true. And that's what we talked about, at the beginning of the show. Right. Is actually, most people, from the research that I did, and it's current. Most people still say they want a monogamous relationship. It doesn't matter whether you're heterosexual, queer, gay, trans, anything. It doesn't matter. Most on the statistics that's out there in the research, most of the people still said they want a monogamous relationship. Right. But most people are not monogamous. Right. You know what I'm saying? Even though in their mind they think they are. But most people are not monogamous, regardless of whether they're married with children and whatever. Because
why is monogamous?
Most people have cheated.
And why is monogamous the norm?
Well, it's really not the norm, because if you go back into history, they didn't have just one wife or one husband. Right. They had like a man. Now it was all on the man, because the woman had to be whatever. Right.
She had to be a virgin.
She's gonna be stoned. Yeah, she had to be stoned and all other type of stuff. But the men, they had plenty of other wives.
Concubines.
They had all of that type of stuff. Yeah. You go back to the kings and the pharaohs and stuff, like that. Mm-hmm. The pharaohs, the kings, the men actually had they may have had one, wife, right?
Yeah.
But they had, like you say, concubines, but they had other boys.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of them slept with boys back then too. But they had boys, other men that they were having sex with. They had other women that they were having sex with. But the truth also is that the women queens, they also had like women and stuff that they usually the kings didn't really allow them to sleep with other men and stuff and whatever, but they could sleep with other women and stuff. But the queens still had men on the side,
Right.
But the kings were more blatant with theirs. They didn't, you know, once they were found out if they did have all these have messing around with other women, the queens didn't leave them.
Right.
Or whatever, because they get beheaded.
Right.
They get beheaded, especially over in England. You know, they can get beheaded and stuff, you know, like that. But that's what happened to the king, you know, or whatever. But it you know, that's just like history. But if you go back even before, you know, before the Bible was written and everybody started trying to follow those commandments and stuff, you know, the people, you know, villagers, the people and stuff, they had more than one wife. Some of them can have 13, 20, 30 wives and stuff. And they can have kids by all of them, or some of them were barren and couldn't have kids. You know, hell, they can trade their daughter to a man who already, for some sheep or a goat or something. They can trade their daughter to another person to marry them off. And those girls could be 12, 13, 14 years old, but they can marry them off. And that man already has 5 or 10 wives. They can be ranked, you know, they can be older all the way down to younger. So that back in history, you know, it was normal for what we call normal, you know, for people to have more, you know, they would have been in what you call, you know, polygamous relationships, polyamorous relationships, and stuff, you know, like that. So they were pretty much open only for the men, though.
Right.
You know, but in this day, you know, we tend to follow a heteronormative, you know, we still follow the heteronormative society mainly. Now there's people who break away from that, you know, but because I still have some of those heteronormative views and stuff, you know, whatever, because since I'm built for monogamy. So if you know, that goes all through me if they're, you know, when I find out they're cheating or something, you know, like that, because I know that I'm faithful and I made the commitment to be faithful to get into this monogamous relationship. That's the relationship you said that you wanted, you know, but if you're not actually doing that, you know, or whatever, you know, for one thing, you broke the commitment that we made for each other, you know, whatever. But I think it goes back to, we still follow that heteronormative thing to say that monogamy is the most normal thing that we all want in society or whatever. And it kind of goes to religion. You know, I think that's where it goes back to, where you know, not back in the Old Testament, but somewhere up in this New Testament. You know what I'm saying? Where they started saying, you know, one wife for one man, or one man, you know, or whatever, and stuff like that. That's kind of what society follows, those norms now across the globe, but not everybody. There's still some cultures that do. They stick that you know, polygamy is normal for their society, and you can't be arrested or anything for it. Now, in the United States, you can be arrested for polygamy because it's still not legal. So polyamory and threesome, I mean, polyamory, you know, you can have threesomes and stuff, and you can have throuples, but you can't get married. Right. Because it's still illegal. Right. And I think that's kind of where it stems from. It stems from, like, you know, religious views and family. You know, we still kind of follow how we grew up and what our parents and stuff. And we break away from it, but we still carry some of that. I think that's kind of where it, maybe, you know, some of it stems from.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, we get conditioned.
Right.
We have a question.
Yeah. Let me see this. Question: do you think just because a person cheats in one relationship, they will cheat in the next one? I don't. I'm going to say they most likely will, but not always, because there's always exceptions to the rule. But usually when a person is a cheater, you know, or whatever, and they've gotten away with it or whatever, they usually tend to cheat in multiple relationships, and sometimes that's why they end up in multiple relationships, because their relationships end because of the cheating. Now, there's other reasons why relationships go wrong, and it's not always because of cheating, but history, from history and research has shown that most people, if they cheated in one relationship, they cheat in multiple relationships, unless there's something that stops them from cheating. And a lot of times with men, it's they get old, because they can cheat throughout their younger life. You know what I'm saying? They can cheat throughout that stuff, but then once they get old and don't nobody want them no more, and just say they're in that relationship, then maybe then sometimes they do stop. But then there's people who are sex addicts who can't stop. They're constantly cheat no matter what. Now, they'll tell you that that they don't cheat or whatever. But if they cheated in one, most likely they're going to cheat in several other ones, but not always.
So my answer to the question would be, like Alvin said, if they cheated once, I think they're more. When you do something, it gets easier and easier. So they're more open or more prompt or amped to do that or whatever. However, I think so for me, cheating is an issue, but the reason why you cheated, I think, needs to be addressed too, and those be the issues too. So, and they could be lame to us, but I mean, if that's the way the person feels, or they say that's what did it, then it needs to be, it needs to be dealt with. So say someone says, well, in this relationship, I cheated because you were not showing me time or whatever. That's a lame excuse.
It's a lame excuse.
However, it needs to be addressed on why do you think, what are you doing with your time? Other than always, thinking I have to be here or whatever. So there's some things. So if a person has been healed from, whatever their reason for cheating is, I could say maybe they could get in another relationship and not cheat because they dealt with the underroot issue. You know what I'm saying? They dealt with what they claim caused them to cheat or whatever. So if they address that, they've worked through that or whatever, maybe they can get in a relationship where they won't cheat again. But that has to be addressed, because if you don't address that, then you're just going to repeat it over and over. Yeah.
And what we talked about last week too is with cheating, you're not the exception to the rule just because you look good, like we talked about, or you got a nice body or something, or they think that you're the one. A person who cheats or is a serial cheater or whatever, it doesn't matter what you are. It's not about you. It's about them. Yeah. And then they, and if they're going to cheat, they're going to cheat regardless of, it doesn't matter, how well you treat them. If you're made for each other and you're the what we think is the perfect person for each other or whatever, that does not matter. The person who cheats, if they're a serial cheater, they're going to do it. And then just go back to what you said, those are excuses, or whatever, because there's no, because the community, if they can't communicate, or why you're, like saying, well, you're not paying me any attention or whatever, you just use that stuff as an excuse, to validate your bad behavior is what it is. Now that's in a closed monogamous relationship where you have committed to each other to be monogamous. In open relationships, you have to go back to what you said before. Communication is the key in that relationship. Y'all have to communicate what the rules are, and whatever those rules are, you need to abide by those rules. Because if you are in an open relationship and y'all set boundaries and rules and say we can't do this, we can do this, we can't do that, we can't with each other, separate apart. If you go outside of that, then you're cheating. Right. Okay? Exactly. If you're cheating. Regardless of whether it's emotional or physical cheating, if y'all have set rules and boundaries,
because it's open, but it's not open outside of what we have already put in our boundaries. Right. So if you go outside of the boundaries, even though we're in an open relationship, you're cheating because we never, whatever. And like you said, there has to be a knowing an agreement for doing this, and there also needs to be check-ins every so often, because I may have evolved to something else that I want to try or want to do or whatever, or I may say, no, I know we agreed to this, let's bring this back some or whatever, let's gradually ease into this or whatever. So you need to always make those check-ins. Or what if I'm starting to have feelings for the, you know, the other person or whatever. And we always said, you know, that shouldn't be an issue or whatever. But now it is becoming an issue. So we need to go back. So there needs to be like frequent like check-ins with each other to just make sure we're still on the same page. And you know, because feelings get involved, or you know, you just change or well, you may agree to it, but now I don't want this anymore. You know.
Yeah. So then Jay and Joe, they said, we think cheating tied to feelings and emotions. Oftentimes a person cheats when they are not happy, or like Charles said, not getting the attention or love they desire. I think that's an excuse, you know, because if you're not happy, then communicate, you know, communicate with each other to figure out why you're not happy, what you can do maybe to help improve each other's happiness. If you're that unhappy, you know, then it might be, you may need to end that relationship. Not telling you to end the relationship, but if you're that unhappy and it can't be, you know, and it's going to, in a monogamous relationship, right? In a monogamous relationship, and that commitment was made, you know, or whatever. Otherwise, just because every time you get unhappy or you're unsatisfied or you're whatever, that means you're giving yourself the license to go out there and cheat.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. So to me, that's an excuse. Figure out, you know, have some communication, figure out what you can do, you know, to get yourself back on the path where you can be happy. But if you're just unhappy in the relationship and you're unhappy with that person all the time, you know, don't make the other person miserable and make yourself miserable also.
Right.
You know, in the relationship, even though that's going to hurt the other person in the long run, that other person, you know, once they get themselves back together, get over that hurt and pain and stuff, they're going to be better off than sitting in a relationship being tortured all the time, you know, and ruminating about, is this relationship going to get better?
Right.
You know, or one day, oh, I remember when it was so good, you know, or whatever. And then, you know, and you're both sitting there unhappy.
Right.
You know, what's your thought
on it? Because they were saying that the same thing, right? We think cheating tied to feelings and emotions.
Everything's tied to feelings and emotions.
Yeah, it is
in a relationship.
And sometimes that's the cheating. Before you've even done a physical act, it starts emotionally, and it's like you've already given, you know, your heart or your time to someone, that you have that emotional connection. And sometimes that's where it begins, because maybe your partner may not be getting that to you that you need or whatever, but this person does. And sometimes that's how it starts, and then you start sneaking to do it and all this kind of stuff, and it just builds up. But so yeah, we use different words. So you say excuses, and I know that's, I mean, it is an excuse. However, I don't want to not validate someone's feelings, because evidently it is a true feeling. It's just that you haven't brought it out to your partner that it's an issue, or you know, they just don't, you know, they don't care or whatever. But this is an issue, so let's discuss it. Now, if it does happen or whatever, and you know, it continues to happen, then it wasn't, especially if you've gotten help and you realize that it was more.
Huh? You want some more ice?
Yeah,
because you holding on to that alcohol, like, you better give me some ice. I need my drink.
You're silly. But no, and then when they say cheating can also be person. Oh yeah, I agree with that too. Cheating can also be a person in relationship. Can be person in relationship specific.
Cheating can also be person and relationship specific. It can be. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it can be, but it usually not, because usually a person who cheats, you know, they're going to cheat in most relationships, you know, until it stops, you know, or whatever. Yeah, it can be, you know, whatever. But then
Because there could be different reasons why you like I cheated for this reason over here, and then I cheated for this reason over here. Or it could just be
out of the relationship before you start cheating. Go ahead.
Yeah. Or it could be that this person did a certain thing that I said caused me to cheat or whatever, but this person is checking all the boxes. So I'm not going to cheat on this person. So just because I cheated on this person doesn't mean I'm going to cheat on this person. And the only reason, well, I'm not going to say the only reason, but one of the big reasons why I will not cheat on this person is because they check all the boxes. Yeah. For the most part or whatever. So I'm not going to be a repeat offender. At least not with this person.
I think you try not to be. I think they try not to be. And like I said, there's always exceptions to the rule. You know, cheating can also be a person and relationship specific. Yeah, I mean, there's always exceptions to the rule, but mostly a person who cheats will go out and cheat again. And it's my opinion. Well, you know what? Actually, there's research out there on it. You know, there's research out there on that and statistics out there on that also of people who cheat in one relationship usually tend to cheat in multiple relationships. But again, there's always the exception to the rule. And I guess that's nice when you're the exception to the rule. If you cheated in one and then you get in another one and then you're able to be faithful. But most people can't do that. But there are those who out there who can. And I believe you guys can. So, you know, whatever, you know, I mean, you know, from everything that I've watched on y'all videos, Jay and Joe, and watched your lives and listened to you all talk and stuff. I believe that you guys are faithful and can, and you know, y'all put in a lot of work on y'all relationship, and to me it's working, you know, but that's just my opinion. And everybody, you know, Jay and Joe also have a channel, so you know, go check them out. You know, we were watching them this morning.
Oh yeah, they were really good.
They were really good. They had good conversation, and it kind of bordered on some of this, a little bit of some of this, you know, whatever.
And last week too.
Oh yeah, last week's show too. You know, they kind of bordered on that. It was very good conversation. Yeah. And so yeah, but you know, I mean, I don't know, Jay and Joe on the cheating thing. I think you need to, you know. I mean, I know it happens, but I think if you can get into the relationship and if that feeling of like, I need to cheat or something starts coming up or something, there needs to be some type of good conversation. Something has to happen or some therapy or something to help y'all talk through that before you go out, before the person, one or both go out and cheat or something, you know, like that. So, and I don't know if the person, where that can be, you know, all the time, where that can be person and relationship specific, you know, but we wish that would be, but just like we said earlier, you know, most people think they're in monogamous relationships and they're really not, because usually there's one or the other is out there cheating, right? You know, and I think it's somewhere like about 80-something%, you know, that happens in relationships. So let's see what we got here. Oh, they said thank you for the love. Yeah, thank y'all too, because they shout us out on their channel and stuff too. Right. But let's see what we got here. You're welcome, loves. You're so funny. And then so it says here, open relationships can be just as healthy as monogamous ones, and some argue that the benefits can significantly improve overall well-being. In traditional monogamous relationships, we expect our spouse to fulfill all our needs, and that can be partner also, other than just spouse too. But one person isn't capable of completing such a tall order, and that kind of goes back to, in monogamous relationships, we do expect that. We talked about that just a little bit earlier, and that's where that smothering can come in too. Yeah. Or hurt and pain because we done put so much on that person, and they can't fulfill everything.
Right.
But you can stop yourself from cheating unless you're a sex addict.
Right.
Okay. Unless you're sex addicted or you're being forced to do it, then you can always stop yourself from cheating.
Yeah. It's what you value, because the only reason why you would cheat on someone is that you don't see the whole value in this relationship and being faithful to this person. Like, there's something that's not connecting, because why would you go out and take that risk like that? And you really crush someone's world because they were really into you. They thought this was gonna last. So you're just thinking about you, and you and yourself and your needs at the time, or whatever, or desires or whatever, lust. And you go out and do this stuff, and it's like, I'm just shit over here, for you just stomped on our whole foundation of what I thought we had or what I thought we were building, So yeah, it's not good. However, I think in open, me, I'm always gonna be about communication. But in all relationships there should be that communication. But in open relationships, there has to be an even greater. And I think that's why most of them are successful. When they're done right, is because they're constantly communicating, because they're letting because they're open anyway. So for you to even consider being in a polyamory relationship or a throuple or whatever, you're already kind of out there. You're open. So it's not like you have any secrets and like you're trying to hold anything back. Like it is what it is. You know what I mean? So I can see them having those more open and honest conversations a lot. And as opposed, and you do in that type of relationship, opposed to the monogamous ones. Because we may communicate, but I don't think sometimes we're honest and are open or whatever. So
okay, then let's talk about throuples. Okay.
Which is not a threesome. But
no, a throuple is not a threesome.
Right.
It's a non-monogamous relationship between three people who are often in a committed relationship and may live together. You don't have to live together, but
because a threesome is about sex,
right?
Only for the most part.
Threesome is about sex.
Yeah.
Unless you keep you have a threesome and then you catch feelings for that person.
Okay,
if you're in your open relationship, right? And then you catch feelings. Let's say one or the other catches feelings, or both of you catch feelings for the person. Just say you're having sex with them on a regular basis. Say it's open, and say you done had sex with them 3 or 4 times, right? And then y'all really like it, but then you start catching feelings for them,
and that's a possibility.
Right? Then it starts kind of going away from more of an open relationship, and it starts moving into a throuple. Right. But you still have to have that talk about, do we want to get into this relationship or whatever. But even in a throuple, because throuples are closed relationships, okay, because it's only 3, and they're committed, closed relationships, but they can also be non-monogamous. They can be committed, but they can also be non-monogamous also. True. If you have that discussion, like, well, we're going to be a throuple. Right. We're going to just say you're living together. We're sharing expenses, and we have sex, and we do stuff together and stuff too. But we can still maybe occasionally or whatever go outside the relationship. But you still have to
set your boundaries.
You got to set your boundaries, and you got to have those rules if they do go outside of the relationship.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Because then a throuple could end up leading into a polyamorous relationship.
Right. So you do have to think it through.
Right.
Even the exit plan. Like how are we gonna, like, if this don't work out, how are we gonna exit? Especially like if this is like one of those where it's like with a friend or whatever. Are we gonna stay friends, or like how's that gonna work out or whatever?
Jay and Joseph, they say, I always wonder how does love work when it's love with multiple people. It seems like it will be difficult to have those feelings for more than one person but I have heard that some do take it.
It seems like if we do that, a sense of want more than one.
I mean, on the ticker, I have it going down there below, just kind of really what they're talking about right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like I was saying before, well, what they're saying is that this one person does not satisfy everything.
It can't.
You know, and so and they may have degrees of love, but there is love.
Oh, yeah, there could be love.
Yeah, there is love. So, like you said, I wonder how love works when it's love with multiple people. So it may be that I love you for different reasons too. Like I love the patience about you, or I love the goal planning about you. Like you think about our future and stuff, and I love the adventurous side of you. Like we can go travel and we can go and do new things and explore or whatever. So there could be different reasons, why I love you. But for a person that's wired for monogamy, we're trying to say that love is only going to be dedicated to that one person,
to that only person, and to our relationship.
Right.
Nobody else.
Nobody else.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of just like friendships,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes in throuples and polyamorous relationships and stuff, different people meet different needs, right? Like your friends, we talked about this yesterday. We were out at Mila, right?
Yes.
So we talked about that yesterday. And then and we were talking about friendships and stuff, like that. It's like and we talked about it Friday too at TMC.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like with your friends meet different. You have different friends for different aspects of your personality and your life or whatever. Right. And even though your friends may not all have the same personalities, the same likes and dislikes and stuff, like that. Mm-hmm. But for yourself, your friends meet different needs. Yeah. So I'll take myself for example. With Larry, Dre, and Charles, right? Each one of them meet different aspects of my life and stuff, and why they're in my life and why I'm in their life, and how we value each other and stuff with the different aspects that are in our life or whatever. Right. That's the same thing with relationships and stuff, that too. So when you get into throuples and polyamorous relationships and stuff, the person that you bring into your relationships, I believe they meet different needs. Now it can be sexual, whatever, but they can also meet other needs outside of sexuality, and stuff, like that too. And then you bring each other together almost like a union, even though they can't get married, but you bring each other together as a union because you're meeting each other aspects of your relationship. Right. Now with a throuple,
I mean, with throuple, so because maybe that person has some of the same common interests, right, to both of them. So maybe that's where they get that some of that connection. Because it should be someone that you both choose. It shouldn't be someone that this person chooses, because then they're gonna have a more tighter connection or whatever. What about the things that I like as well? So it should be someone that fulfills, both of our, our needs or wants or whatever. So
I think with throuples too, I don't know so much with polyamorous relationships, but I think with throuples, from what with throuples, you really have to have that strong, open communication with throuples and polyamorous relationships. Yeah. But I think mainly with throuples, you have to have that, because they say initially, there could be a lot of jealousy that plays into throuples, whatever, because there's that fear. I don't know if it's so much with polyamorous relationships, but I think with throuples, there's that fear that when you do have a throuple, you're in a throuple or something like that, that one might think that the other likes the other one more, or or they like them more sexually, or they prefer them more, or whatever. So jealousies can come into play, or they also think, I think this is what I'm getting ready to say. This is probably more for open relationships. In open relationships, that jealousy can be there too, but there's more of an insecurity thing there within the open relationships, because when they, just say they're open and they're messing with different people and stuff, like that. But then just say that one comes along, and it's just like, and then one of them actually falls for that person, and it doesn't turn into a throuple. Well, that other person going to be, the other partner can be jealous, and in their mind, it's like he's going to leave me, he or she or whatever, they're going to leave me for that person, So insecurity can play a lot. Insecurity plays a lot in throuples.
So that would be something you really need to discuss and think about before you actually do it. Like there could be a moment where there is a attraction, between me and the person that we bring in, or whatever. Let's go ahead, and think how we're going to work through that, because it's a possibility. But as far as jealousy, that happens across the board, though. Jealousy is in every relationship. You can be in a monogamous relationship and there be a jealous person. You can be in a straight relationship, a gay relationship, whatever relationship, jealousy is always going to be there. I think with them, that's where like the enhanced communication, it has to be a step above, the other relationships, because you guys are so open and you're so, just free to do, whatever. Like we really need to have some communication, because things could change or whatever. So yeah, I think in those instances, you're definitely gonna have that communication. It's got to be at another level, because that is something that can happen. You could actually fall for that other person or whatever,
right?
But I think the people that are inviting that third person or whatever, they should have already discussed this. And if you're thinking about it, I think it would be a good idea to discuss all the possibilities that you could think of, and address those before you actually, embark on doing it.
So here goes Deshaun. Hey, Deshaun.
Hey, Deshaun.
And then after I read this, and then whatever we say on it or whatever, then I want to go back to something Deshaun sent us. He sent us. I think it was the other day or last week or whatever, maybe, when I read it, and I want to go in and discuss that too, because that plays into the open monogamy type relationship stuff. So we'll bounce back to that open monogamy stuff too. But then because I have it in here. But Deshaun says the biggest peeve is people that are jealous. Why don't they just sit down and have a conversation before the jealousy starts if you don't feel comfortable with another person's relationship? With another person's relationship, or your or your own relationship, not his, but in general, our own relationship. Because I think we really can't tell other people what to do with their, what I'm saying? We have to define our own relationships, but they have to define that. There's no judgment. There's no judgment on to me, but there's society does judge open relationships and polygamy, polyamorous relationships and throuples. So society does judge it, even if they don't outwardly come out and say it. They do judge it, but but they're becoming more and more prominent too. Where a lot of people are, starting to have these types of relationships. But the jealousy is there. But like what we talked about earlier, Deshaun, is most people gear themselves toward monogamy, but most people in relationships are not monogamous. Even though in our minds we think we have gotten into a monogamous relationship, well, there's usually one or the other is cheating, and then so really we're not in a monogamous. We just society, we follow heteronormative societal norms a lot of times, and we think we're in these we think we're in monogamous relationships, but we're really not. But that's what I would say. And you say before the jealousy starts. Well, you know, you can have the, you got to keep the communication has to constantly be open. You have to constantly be talking about your feelings, talking about what you're going through, talking about, after you in these open relationships and stuff, after you've gone out and did it, how you feel, how did it make you feel, or afterwards or whatever. Talk about, that if you were more attracted or not, whatever, how you felt when you saw your partner or that partner having sex or something with the other, or vice versa. You have to talk about that. But even still, you can be in these open relationships and they can go well for a while, but then later down the line, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That they can, jealousy can crop back up in it all throughout. So you always are going to have that open communication in order to keep that, relationship going and stuff, in open relationship throuple type stuff. Because we all have jealousies and insecurities. Some have more than others, but we all have some different situations, different things will bring out that stuff. And like I said, in life and most in the world, I'm very secure. Get me into a relationship, and then if cheating and stuff starts going on, then I get insecure and I can get jealous and insecure and stuff, like that too.
Because you're more vulnerable, you let your guards down.
When mainly I'm just not a jealous type person anyway. But relationship can make you insecure, Yeah. But I want to go here to this. Let me put this up here. They hold. Let me see what he says. They hold in and not talk about it. And then he says, Jay and Joe says, hi, hey, Deshaun from Jay and Joe. And they said, how you been? Yeah. And then Deshaun says, how you guys? Let me see what he says. Right. He says, right. Communication is definitely key, and it definitely will help men and try to figure out how to improve the relationship. People got to learn the likes and dislikes on what you want and what you don't want. Okay, so I'm gonna go here to Deshaun's thing, because he had sent me and I watched the video he had sent. We sent it to us through Tit for Tat. You have mail. Ding. And I just put his name in here because I told him I would bring it up. But so he says, now Deshaun didn't say this, but he was in on the person's live video when the person was doing it, and I watched the person's video, and the guy was saying,
this person shall be unnamed.
Well, they're in our subscription.
Oh, okay.
But the person says, their title on their thumbnail says, "Are wholesome gay relationships dead?" And it had open relationships, massacre mass, DL men. And the reason why the guy, once you watch it, you'll understand.
Right, because that's confusing me.
No, because it's maybe, but it says wholesome gay relationships, are wholesome gay relationships dead? Like,
I get
we're talking about the open relationships, but the guy was saying, you can't get in, it seems these days, that you can't get into a committed monogamous relationship because of, he was saying, because of all this open relationship type stuff, throuples and stuff that everybody wants to get into.
These are the reasons
why. Those are some of the reasons. That's, that he was talking about, is because open relationships, you get on these dating apps and stuff, and they don't want the femme guys. They just want these masculine men, mask for mask or whatever, and they're discarding the femme guys and stuff. So that leaves them out. And then all these DL men that are out there on the low, all this stuff is contributing to, anybody, any chances of people really having a monogamous relationship. And see, the guy who was on there, he was geared towards more of being not a masculine relationship. He was being geared, monogamous. He was geared more towards monogamy and not the other stuff. Now, granted, he was only 20 years old, and then I actually told him, I said, well, you know, you're going to go through quite a few more breakups and all of that stuff. And all along that stuff, it's going to be a whole bunch in those relationships. It's going to be cheating and lying and a whole, you know, whatever stuff. And maybe somewhere down the line, you might find the person that's right for you. Maybe not a perfect person, but that's right for you and you're right for them, where that stuff doesn't come into play. And if it does, you know how to communicate and talk about it or whatever. But you know, at 20, he still is going to have
a lot you need to see.
You know, we go through a lot of suffering early on in life and stuff. We got to learn these lessons and stuff, you know, like that. And sometimes we still are suffering and haven't learned these lessons,
you
know, or whatever. But and Deshaun, if you want to come in and comment on that.
So for me, I think there's something for everybody. So I don't think that the wholesome gay relationships are dead. I mean, I think you can find a nice guy that, you know, checks all your boxes or whatever. I think that's still there. I don't think everybody has turned to like, well, I want an open relationship or I have to have this. And I think some are just genuinely trying to experience and find love, you know, so I don't think it's dead. I think it's out there, but I think now there is a lot more options for everybody. I think there's a place for everybody now. It's like now we're living in a day and time where we try to accommodate everybody, or we're making room for everybody, which to me lets me know that the human race is evolving to the fact that we're being more open, you know, because back in the day, you know, you couldn't just come out and say, "Oh, I'm polyamorous." Or whatever, you know, you would get so much judgment, even though you still get judgment now, but it's a lot more open. It's a lot more out there. It's in your face. It's more freedom now to, you know, announce that or whatever. So yeah, I think we're constantly evolving. So I think there's something for everybody. So it's just meeting that person, and you know, it may take a while because I think some of the good guys have like left the scene, and I'll speak in what I mean. So I'll take you as an example. It's like, so Alvin, you used to, you know, you said it, so I'm not saying nothing that the people don't know. Alvin used to be on Jack or whatever, and when he, you know, got in a relationship, he got off of it or whatever, and he hasn't been back. So, and I feel like Alvin's one of the good guys. I mean, he is. I mean, he is.
I got my moments.
Yeah. But Alvin is one of the good guys, and so the people that are into the apps or whatever, they're gonna miss out on that because, you know, that's where they think that, you know, they might find you or whatever. So I just think it just also depends on, you know, where you're looking or whatever. But at the same time, the people that have been in this for a minute, some of them are not as visible or whatever. So it may look like all that other stuff is big, but, you know, we're still here or whatever. We're just not, because we've been let down. You know, it doesn't work. So, you know.
None of us are perfect. None of us are going to be perfect in a relationship. We're not perfect in life or whatever. We're going to fuck up. Excuse my language, but I said it now. But, you know, we are going to F up. You know what I'm saying? And we do F up in relationships. And there's sometimes it's one person's fault. Sometimes it's your fault. Sometimes it's both of your faults and stuff. But that's where the communication and stuff comes in, right?
Yes.
And to me, you know, just because you F up and stuff. And then I'll say this too. There's also, you know, where it could be a mistake where you were in a monogamous relationship and just say the person went out and cheated, right? Mm. It could, you know, shit happens.
Right.
You know, or whatever, you know, it can happen or whatever. Then just say they did cheat or whatever and stuff, you know, like that. And maybe with me, you know, one time cheating and it doesn't happen again and it's not this constant whatever stuff, you know, yeah, it's going to hurt, it's going to be painful and stuff, you know, like that. You can get over that, you know, if you both really do love each other and the communication is there, where you can, try to fix and build a relationship. Now, it might, I might not get over it right away.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You gotta give me some time, whatever. But I believe I can get back there. We can get back to where I'm. But as long as I don't have to sit there and worry about you cheating and again.
But the trust has to be rebuilt, and you may have to take him through little tests or exercises like, let's build our trust. So let's start with you telling you checking in. Or little things, or maybe that's somewhere high on the list.
Yeah.
But you do little things to like rebuild that trust into where now, okay, you don't have to check in as much anymore. Stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, there might be some stuff, like that. But I'm just the type that, like, if I don't want to go through your damn phone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have to be checking up on you to see what you're doing and stuff. If I gotta constantly do that and worry about that then I just don't want to be in the relationship, or, let me be free and then I can go sleep with whoever I want and do whatever I want until I can find a person who wants to be monogamous or something.
Right.
But if not, but I don't want to have to be checking up on you. I don't want to have to, you got to be, checking in with me everywhere you go or sending me 100,000 texts a day or something, like that. Sure. Letting me know where you're at, what you're doing and stuff, just so I can feel secure and safe. Now, there's some people who may need that, but I don't need that. And if I got to do that, then I don't want to be in that relationship,
right.
And stuff, like that. But there are some people, like you say, who need that. They might need that extra level of is it security that I'm looking for?
Yeah, because you're trying to rebuild the trust, so maybe you're needing all that before you can actually go gun ho or whatever and forgive them, like. Well, hopefully, I guess you kind of forgave them, but you're just not actually convinced or whatever. So, help me in my conviction.
So I did research up on this topic here. Like it says, most queer people, gay, queer, trans, whatever we all fall under that queer bucket. Most queer people mirror heteronormative society. I.e., they prefer monogamous relationships. So they had, they do studies, and they're constantly redoing them and whatever. But the one that I was reading, it was like they had interviewed, like thousands of. In this one that I did, they had interviewed thousands of gay men, right? And then, and out of those thousands of gay men, 80% of them said that they would prefer to be in a monogamous relationship, not an open relationship or a throuple. You know what I'm saying? But 80%, and the reasons that some of them that they were giving was kind of mirroring like heterosexual marriages and what straight people do, because they're geared towards monogamy, even though, like we said, they ain't monogamous, but
right.
But it seems like even in queer society, we're still geared toward monogamy. And it could be because of just the way we grew up, and it's ingrained in us or whatever through, family, church, religion type stuff or whatever. But, I thought that was interesting because in the gay community, in the heterosexual community, it's the same, but we're talking about, whatever. But, we see a lot of, in queer society, we see a lot of sexual. It's just oversexed a lot. To me, it's a lot of it is oversexed. And I like sex as much as I know people say that I do like sex as much as the most person and stuff, like that. I'm better with it when I'm in a relationship. Now, I can be freaky outside of it, whatever, if I'm with the person or whatever. But I get more secure and stable, and I'm better at it. You know what I mean? I'm better at it with acts or sexual acts or whatever. I'm better at that when I'm in a relationship and monogamous. But in our community, we see a whole lot of sex, you know what I'm saying? And then we hear and we see the people that are in these so-called monogamous relationships being cheated on a lot, and we hear more of that where they are actually cheating more than we do that they're actually faithful in the relationships, which deters us sometimes from even getting into relationships.
Because the negative is always going to be bigger.
But I thought that was interesting that, as much sex as we see in the gay the gay community or whatever we see out there, where everything seems to be geared towards sex, and it's just not the gay community. Heterosexuals do the exact same shit, whatever.
Right.
But I thought that was interesting that because I thought that when I was reading it and stuff like that, I thought that most people. Oh, that's my friend Dre is here. I thought that most people would be saying that they would say, would prefer to be in an open relationship, not
right.
a throuple or even a poly. I was thinking that most of them would say that they would prefer to be in a open relationship because they're always out there open anyway, even though, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So what's your take on that? But I thought that was an interesting statistic.
For queer people to prefer monogamous relationships.
I didn't think that they would say that.
You're right, because it seems like everything is really.
Dre, you want something to drink? It's in the refrigerator if you want something to drink.
Okay. Hey, Dre.
You can talk. You can sit over there if you want.
Yeah, there's cameras everywhere. This is Diddy's house.
Oh, you got lube? You know what? I do got baby oil. I got like 3 of them.
And if you don't have baby oil, it's all over me, baby. Because that's all over me.
That's what I use for just about everything. Unless they want to use something else.
Okay. But okay, James.
All right, see you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, they said they got a drop. Very interesting. Let's see what they got up here. Hey guys, we have to drop, but this is really good convo. Very interesting. We really enjoyed the conversation. Hope y'all have a great rest of the day. You too, guys, and everybody go check out their channel.
But like I said, yeah, our all the people under the umbrella, the core people, we are more like open in our beliefs and what we do or whatever. So you would think, they would be like, oh yeah, I would love a polyamorous relationship or threesomes and throuples or whatever. But I like I said, I think a lot of them, what I've heard, a lot of them start that way. But somewhere down the line, some of them do end up with eventually opening up or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do think that I did see a statistic that said that poly is most of the time it's the LGBT. Well, we're more open to it. I saw that.
And you're probably right, but I think it's like what you're saying. We're more open to it, and we're probably more open with it. We're more apt to tell somebody, we're in an open relationship. Heterosexuals don't tell a lot. They keep a lot of shit secret. It's a lot of stuff that's underground. And you find out, just like we're finding out, like about all these, people out here now.
Oh, right.
Which we do. But,
right, exactly.
But we didn't know some of it. We didn't know about all these other stars and stuff. These famous people out there. But we're finding out now with all this Diddy stuff or whatever.
Right.
But heterosexual people do it too. They just keep it underground. And whatever. We tend to talk about it, and sometimes we brag about it like it's a badge of honor.
Exactly.
Like that. But
okay, that's that body count number, child.
And then Deshaun says, there's good guys out there. You just got to keep, you got to keep finding them. It's like a needle in a haystack. Yeah,
they was referring to what I was saying.
What you had said earlier.
Because I was like, I think there's somebody for everybody, but like you say, it is, but it's hard to find them.
And it says, what if a person that wants an open assistant find another person that is the same as him that wants an open relationship? What if a person that wants an open assistant? What does that mean?
That probably was a miss.
Wants an open relationship?
Probably.
What if a person that wants an open relationship finds another person that is the same as him that wants an open relationship? Then I think you should get into an open relationship. Get into an open relationship.
Read the next one. Maybe it makes more sense.
But here's the thing with open relationships and like throuples. I think with open relationships and throuples, I don't think you should get into them right off, right? I think you need to get into your relationship first and get established and then get your boundaries and get secure in that relationship. I think you got to get into it first. I would say
new to it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I would say be in that relationship first if you can, for a few years or something, and then open up the relationship.
Yeah. But if you're already in that community, then it's whatever.
Right.
But if you're new to coming in, you're giving good advice.
If you're not monogamously built, don't get into a monogamous relationship. Stay open. Communicate that. It goes back to what you're saying, though. When you meet or something, like that, communicate that you prefer to be open, and then the other person should not get into that relationship with you just so they can have you. Yeah. Or even if they are in a relationship and they've been in a relationship for a year or two, just say whatever. They still, if both parties are not 100% open to being in an open relationship, then I don't think you should get into it, because if the other person gets into that relationship and they really didn't do it and they're just doing it to please you or to keep you, then that relationship is not going to last. All type of jealousy and envy is going to come in, and then that's where we have seen also the physical violence come into that type of stuff, and it's so much hurt and pain. So be open first.
Right. Be on the same page.
You got anything to say about that, Dre?
Open relationships. Yeah, like you say, I think it works if both parties agree to it. But you got some people that I think some people that say, oh, I think it's okay, and they really don't be okay with it. I think sometimes they rather be lied to than tell, than just, tell the truth about what, what they really want. If they really don't like it, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think if both parties are, into it, are down for it, it's cool.
And make sure that that's what you really want. If you both are that, it should be able to work if that communication and stuff is there.
Constant
communication,
and check in.
But I think if one wants it and the other one really don't, and they're just doing it to please the partner or for whatever reason, I don't think it's going to work, and I think it's going to cause more harm than good. And I think it's best before you get into a relationship to discuss it. To say I want, I don't. Even if that person, if you really like that person, and that person says, "Well, I really like to be open and stuff," I would think it's best just to say, "Okay, for my own, whatever. I think I can't do this with you, and I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna have to walk away or something." But you really can't tell people what to do or how long to stay in relationships and stuff like that, because most of the time we sit in relationships and suffer for some of them, especially married people. They sit in these relationships and suffer their whole life, and because they know that their partner is out there, cheating and doing all this other type of stuff, but they stay in them or whatever.
And I would say too, so I have tried an open relationship, and I keep saying we'll get to it. We'll say that a bit later because I really don't want to the story, but I probably will. But I would say that if I was to get in an open relationship, first of all, I want to be in a relationship where it's just us, where it's monogamous. That's what that's my preference or whatever. Okay, so we have that. Say we've been together, this is working for us. I'm his everything, he's my everything. It's working. But then somewhere down the line, we okay, it's getting kind of boring or whatever the reason is. We want to do new things or whatever. And I'm not advocating open relationships, but I'm just saying if me being a person that's not, wanting that or whatever, this is a way that you could probably get a person like me more on board to what it is. And so what I would do is, if my partner says that's something that he wants or whatever, and we talk about it, and I'm like, okay, let's do it, maybe you can gradually get them there. So one thing is, maybe you invite people over or whatever, and you already tell them what's up or whatever, and you just have them watch y'all, you know what I mean, just to ease your point. You know what I mean? Just easier, take me with baby steps or whatever. And so So now we just, we're out drinking, we're smoking, we're doing what, watching, whatever. And then maybe right there on the couch, we start doing it and your friends are watching you. Or maybe we sneak off to the bedroom and then you guys kind of start peeking, whatever. You gradually get me in there. And then maybe the next time, we take it a step further, where next time maybe, they're with us and they take their clothes off or whatever. So you gradually kind of get me. Then the next time maybe, you can touch him, but he can't touch you. You put little boundaries on. So you gradually trying to get there for your partner or whatever. So I can see it happening that way for me, because I will be open to it, but there has to be something there where I say, if it's too much, okay, that's it. I can't do anymore or whatever. So I would prefer, like I think most of us, I can't say for most, but I know for me and you, we prefer monogamy or whatever. So I would prefer that. But I will keep the conversation on the table if my partner wants to do that. But I'm thinking that if we did that, you would have to build me up like slowly, like, build me up to something like that. And I would have to be given the, authority or whatever to say, okay, I can't do this anymore. And you be okay with that and be like, okay, I'll never bring this up again. You know what I mean? Unless you want to go there or whatever. That's the only way I can really consider it.
But you know what? I've seen some situations, like I said, some people rather be lied to. I've seen like the person that really want to do, bring other people in, and they will know that their mate really ain't cool with it. And they know that their mate will go along with it just to stay with them. And to me, that seems like that's kind of selfish on the person that actually, that wants to bring other people in. And so he would rather his mate, knowing his mate don't really want to do it. He'd rather his mate would, lie to him. Oh, he said he's cool with it. He's cool with it. He'd rather his mate just lie to him.
Right.
And he know that he's not with it. But he know he's doing it just so he could please him and stay in a relationship and things like that. Right. So I kind of think sometimes it can be a little selfish on the person that that want to do it, and another person don't want to do it. Like you said, both people, like y'all both said, both people have to want to do it. But I've seen some cases to where
somebody will do it just because they're a people pleaser.
Right, and just to please their mate too. So
and to keep them.
And to keep
right.
Exactly.
That goes back to what we said earlier. They know that they're not built for monogamy,
right?
But they want a monogamous relationship, and they want the other person to be monogamous, even though they know they're not going to be monogamous. You know what I'm saying? And then they're going, like you said, they're going to be lying to that person all throughout that relationship. Because they still want their relationship, because there's other things in that relationship that they benefit that they like and they love or whatever. They love the person and stuff too, but they can't stop cheating. You know what I'm saying? And or they like that outside excitement and stuff. Like that. They can be perfectly satisfied sexually with the person they're with too, but they still like that outside sexual excitement, arousal, or whatever.
They want something different.
Right. Unlike what you were saying, like you don't want it, but I don't. But because I know you want it, I'm gonna give it to you.
I'm gonna go along with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on with the threesomes and the throuples, but and all this kind of stuff. But just because I think that if I say no, I'm gonna lose you. Yep.
So we're gonna take just a minute or two here, so we can shout out our sponsors here, and then Charles say a little blurb about it or whatever, and then we'll come back and we're going to talk about polyamory. Okay.
Your
not when that's going. They can't hear what I don't think, they can't hear what the
when that's played.
when that's going, but they can, it depends on what video or what, how we share it, because sometimes they can't hear. So I'll know when I go back and look at it, but they didn't see him doing all his voguing and stuff.
Because they see you now.
Yeah, but why are you ashamed? If that's what you were doing, he was sitting there kicking he was kicking his feet up and whatever all that was, he thought he was Madonna, I guess.
My feet did not go up.
I saw that foot come up like that.
It may go up later, but it's not going up.
Okay. You got your P. Diddy baby oil?
But you just said you got a whole case back there.
I ain't giving you mine. I needs that.
Well, we're gonna use it.
Okay, so
So those are our. So I wanted to bring light to our friends, or we want to bring light to our friends, the distinguished gentlemen of KKMS. We were just with them yesterday at, was it first? No, it was just a day party that they do on Saturdays. It's called Elevated Saturdays. So you missed it this week if you weren't there, but for those that were there, we had a good time with Carrick and Sergio. Hey y'all, and all the other people. Y'all were great. Showed out in numbers. Keep coming. So we were there last night. It was really good. So catch them on every Saturday, and I think it's gonna be in Milas for from what I know. So catch us there. And then if you're not out yet, if you're in Dallas, it's just 742. Go meet them now on premise in Deep Ellum. They're there for Social Sundays. I think they're there to 2, I believe.
Oh,
2 a.m. So you know how Deep Ellum is. So you may want to Uber.
Catch the train.
Catch the train, right. So you know how that is. So if you're if you're getting ready or whatever, go on and catch them out there. And then I also want to make mention of their Halloween party that's coming up. Or I don't know if it's a party, but it's like a Halloween event or whatever. But you can follow them on all social media. You can also go to their website at www.kkmsdallas.com to find out where all the events will be and what times and dates or whatever. So what I can say about the Halloween party, the theme is the jungle after dark. And you have to go see the posting because the posting kind of gives you what they want you to wear or whatever. And so it's kind of, sexy because it's after dark, and I've already been I've already been told what I should wear. Alvin has suggested that I wear something, so I'm going to wear it for him.
I mean, y'all were doing that yesterday, telling me what I need to wear.
Right. And he's going to tell me, they was talking about something, and then he's going to talk about, he's going to wear something with his booty out. I said, oh, okay. Well, since that's what you want me to wear, that's what I wear. But anyway.
And they did say you don't have to have a costume to come.
No. So if you just, want to just wear, your regular get up or whatever, you know how we do it. We come fly regardless of what we have on. If you want to just do that, that's fine as well. I think there will be like a contest or whatever, Sergio, they were saying or whatever. But that's all I can tell you right now. Well, I can tell you the date. It's October 25th, but I can't tell you the location right now. That's to follow. But like I said, if you follow them on their website and all their social media, you'll get that information as well. So, hey, you guys at KKMS, we love you guys. We're supporting you, and hopefully we see you at the next event.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about polyamory. It says, what is polyamory? Polyamory is a type of ethical non-monogamy that places an emphasis on deep, intimate relationships with more than one romantic partner. Polyamory is a word derived from the Greek root poly, meaning many, and the Latin root amor, meaning love. As the name suggests, polyamory is rooted in the philosophy that we can love more than one person in the romantic sense without those feelings of love detracting from one another. Mm-hmm. So with polyamory relationships, that can be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It depends on however many you want in that relationship.
Because even though it's open, you can close it. You know what I mean? Like you say, even though it's open, we can still determine how many we want, or we can go as much as we want. But it can also be a closed relationship too. You know, like it's open, but you can close it to how many people you want to be in the relationship.
Yeah, they kind of polyamory. They kind of like with not with throuples, but kind of like with open relationships, threesomes type stuff. You know, not because open relationships and throuple are different than the threesome. So kind of like with open relationships, threesomes, and poly, they seem more like like lean towards more swinging type stuff. Like in married, how married couples or people, they kind of they're like swingers,
right?
And they swing with other couples and stuff, even though they're a little different or whatever. Polyamory kind of reminds me of swingers.
But I think also, so poly is not always going to be about sex either.
That's what
right? Poly can also be about, what something another interest we may have that we have in common or whatever, and you meet that need or whatever. So sometimes it's just intimacy,
right,
and not the sexual part of it.
Yeah, because with poly, they put me in mind of like the Mormons. Back then, when the Mormons used to, I don't know if it's still legal. I should have researched that, but I didn't, to see if it's still legal for them to. I don't know. I don't even think it was legal for them. I think they just did it illegally, where they were marrying different people. Different in the United States, where they just would marry a whole bunch of different women.
I watched the Housewives of Salt Lake City, and they're Mormons there, but I want to say they're still strict, but I don't think that poly stuff is going on.
Oh, okay. So here's the polyamory and open relationship chart. So it says polyamory, relationships with multiple partners. Solo poly means dating oneself. I don't know what the hell that means. What the hell is dating oneself? Don't date. You're not dating if you're dating yourself. I mean, I don't know what that means. Does that mean you're just going out on a date with yourself and enjoying yourself at the movies or something? That's kind of more like introversion. That's more like introversion,
right?
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Dating oneself. Swinging, couples who allow partners to have sex with other couples. Monogamish, and we've talked a lot about that today. It's kind of monogamish. A lot of open, lot of open relationships and stuff are kind of monogamish. Where they have these rules where you can do this and do that, but we're monogamous, but we can do this or do that or whatever. But it says monogamish, primarily exclusive relationships, occasionally includes dating others. And then you got polyfidelity, that's closed group, usually including 3 or 4 partners. That's what you just said. Yeah. So that's more polyfidelity. And then relationship anarchy, relationship with no rules or similarities to traditional monogamy, or whatever. And so that's the poly open relationship chart. And so let's talk about this poly.
Okay, poly, come to the stand.
So right here, I'm gonna put up here navigating poly. I'll put this up here. Polyamory can be very explore connections outside of marriage, or to refine what it means to love. Some say that polyamory can lead to deeper connections, personal growth, and self-realization. However, polyamorous relationships can also present challenges, such as jealousy, debates about raising children for those who have children in those type of relationships, and the need for clear boundaries and communication. So even, we talked about jealousy earlier, but it still plays out in these polyamory relationships too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, with that polyamory stuff, I mean, just say with a throuple, it's just you. It's you three.
Yeah.
And then, but with poly, that's a lot of sex partners. How do you choose? Is it just one big orgy?
If it's all sex, though.
Yeah, I'm talking on the sexual part now, though. When it comes to the sexual part, because I understand I understand the financial, I mean, it can, if everybody's working and contributing to the finances, that's going to be an easy life as far as like, with bills and being able to freely.
And then some of them are like that. Like everything is shared. So that so it's not always on one person.
I think most of them, when it's like that, from what I read, I think most of them are shared. They
so
share
the child care.
That's what I was reading. They share all that type of stuff. But jealousy, they say the jealousy and stuff does play into it. Just say once, when they start taking more to one person than the other, but it can fall into not even just sexual. It can be even jealousy over the finances or who's has more contact with the children.
Right.
There's all type of stuff. But with this sexual thing, though, just say, because sometimes when you're in a relationship, sometimes it's hard to find time to have sex. Sometimes depending on what your career is like, or or just say you have children, or you're out, you know what I'm saying. Your life is real busy, and then sometimes it's hard. Even though you might want to have sex more often or whatever, sometimes it's just not possible. But with this poly, it's like, I guess sometimes it is one big orgy, right? Or do you just figure out, I'm just going to have, like, if the men, just say it's heterosexual couples, and it's just say it's 3 men and 4 women or something, whatever. I guess the women can have sex with each other, the men can have sex with each other, or if they say they're heterosexual, then he might be having a threesome with one, or sometimes you just have it with others. I don't know. I'm like, it geared me toward the sexual part.
Right.
I'm like, what? How do you?
So you have to.
I be tired all the time if I'm having sex every damn day with, I have to have it with different
sex every day. But what if one
wants it and the other one? How?
And that's the open. So they have to have the communication. So first of all, you have to set your boundaries.
That's a lot
of what you're gonna do or whatever, and you have to think this all through. And because it is a more common thing, a lot of people have already addressed, the issues that need to be covered. I mean, but every relationship is gonna be, different or whatever. But at least a lot of people have already told you what the pitfalls are, the pros, the cons. So hopefully you cover all of this before you even get into that or whatever. So, you kind of know, when I feel this or when I sense this, or, what can I do if I feel this way or whatever. But that communication has to be there. It has to be there, because if it's not there, then you're gonna feel like that, like I can't do this or whatever. So say I did have sex with this person or whatever, I should have enough open communication to let you know I can't have sex with you today. And it not be a problem because I just had sex with them.
Oh my God! I just so you get left out. So you got to go have it with the other person that's in somebody else in there.
But you already knew this from the beginning. This is a possibility. So that's what I'm saying. You have to cover all that, because this is going to be a possibility where I might have just did it with this person. I'm not gonna be able to do it. I mean, baby, I don't want to lose all the elastic of my booty hole.
But who said that you have to? You might not be the.
I'm just an example.
Well, like he's the one got to get plugged.
I didn't say, only you said that. If y'all didn't think that, I was just giving an example. I could have said, I just nutted 2 hours ago. I'm not gonna be able to nut right now.
Oh my God!
I was just giving an example. Don't put me in a box.
Oh my God!
Maybe they be on the schedule or something.
And you only know that if you're communicating, that's open and we can talk about all that stuff.
Yeah, that's yeah, I thought about that, like,
and another thing,
because people can have different sexual wants at different times. You know what I'm saying? And if there's 5, 6, 7, or 8 of you in there, and then you know what I'm saying? And then 1 or 2 you want to have sex, but you really want to have sex not with this one. I don't know. That's just kind of that would wear me out, like having sex all the time. And I like my sex, but that just I don't know. I don't know if I can be sitting there just having sex with all those different people like that all the time like that.
That's what we're saying. We're saying that they probably want to, but they probably have made a some type of communication openness with each other where they can relay that, like, I'm not available tonight. So it's, we've already covered, even though, because nobody can do that, because you probably done did something too. And I done did something, so I don't think it's like, I don't think everybody just fucking every night, all night. Because you've done something, because we're open. So you've probably done something, I've done something. So I kind of have to let you know when I'm available. I think they talk about that. Because they're open. I can see them addressing all of that.
I kind of like the spontaneity in like when you're in a monogamous relationship, or just say even a threesome or something. You know what I'm saying? I kind of like the spontaneity of where you just can get into it without having to always, ask, can I have sex with you tonight? You know what I mean? Or have to plan it or something, like now sometimes you do have to plan sex when you're in a relationship. But most of the time I like the spontaneity of where it just happens and you both are connected at the same time and you get into it or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know if with the polyamory stuff, if I got, where I got to sit there all the time and ask different ones, can I have sex with you? Can we get into it or do you just start touching on each other and and then you get into it or whatever, and then it turns into an orgy? Well, I don't know.
See, this is good because this lets you know that you can have people in this polyamorous relationship that have different views. So it is to go on and on and on and on and on. You see how we kind of having this conflict of what? So I believe when you're in these relationships, when you do have conflicts, you need to address them soon. Like we're kind of going back, like this needs to happen. Like I'm saying that one thing and you're saying like, I don't see this and I can't do this, whatever. So as soon as you have a conflict in whatever we got, it needs to be addressed. And I think that's probably what can be a success for them is they address things. Sometimes people like in monogamous relationships, they let things linger. They don't address them quickly. They let them fester and they become these big things. But I think when you're in this type of relationship, that conflict resolution needs to be quick and fast or whatever, because we need to make sure that we're going by what we said we were going to by this contract, because you basically kind of made a contract of how you set the boundaries of what's going to be. So I think when those arouse, like when you have an issue, we need to talk about that right then and there.
So more people, more communication. The more people, the more communication.
Basically. And men don't like to communicate. I mean, we don't communicate that well or whatever. So it's really hard. And then, we can be sneaky at times and secretive. I mean, you have that across the board, though, because women can be that way, too. But men, I think women, they talk about anything and everything. Men, I think we've been conditioned not to talk as much, like when like when we get in the sauna, at the gym, because I'm talking about at the gym in the sauna, most dudes are not going to be in there talking to each other because basically you're sweaty, and some of them have less clothes, some of them have more clothes or whatever. But it's like, what is there to talk about? And if you do talk about it, it's gonna be sports or whatever. So it's like some situations we've been conditioned to we don't talk or we hold things in or we don't tell everybody everything or whatever. So I think sometimes we make some of the worst, or not so good communicators.
Yeah, communication is the key. It's just a lot of people to me. What do you think about it, Dre? Like, we know you ain't even into no relationships. You ain't even trying to get into no relationship. But you have been in. I do know one that you have been in, and so when you were in that relationship, though, at that time, if he had came to you and said he wanted to, be in a open relationship or a like a throuple. Or just say he wanted to bring you into a poly relationship. You think you can get into something like that? But you're very open. You're very open as far as.
Yeah, I would just say no. We both need to be single. If you want to see multiple people, we could just be single.
Right.
because I mean, I don't see how those other people would benefit me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see the point in we could just be, be friends with benefits, and I say, I see, when I see you, but it wouldn't be beneficial for me to have other people come in. So I would just, tell him, we just, you go do you, and I'll just be by myself. If I want to, to be in a relationship, I'm thinking, a monogamous relationship, if I'm even considering a relationship. But the all of the poly stuff, for me personally, I just think I'd rather be single, because I don't see how, being with multiple people would benefit me, unless it's just, just to, see something different,
right,
sexually. But I don't see how, other than sexually, I don't see how they're gonna benefit, my way of living.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think some people, when they get in those poly relationships, I think some people can be attracted to more than, they can be attracted to more than one person, and maybe want a relationship more than one person. That's the only way I see the poly stuff working. It's more than just sex. I think that it's a way of living, to make their ends meet. And they see something other, from I see like the TLC specials and stuff on TV.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've seen, it's like everybody's in the relationship, and they, if it's a man in the house, they'll focus on him, as far as sex and stuff. But the women, they get along with each other. They have good relationships with everybody.
Do they have sex with each other? The women?
I don't think the women have.
So it's just the man who gets to have sex.
Yeah.
That's in the poly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of heteronormative.
right.
They follow on heteronormative. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But for me personally, no.
Yeah. It says one of the most significant challenges in polyamory is managing time and energy across multiple committed relationships. Juggling the needs and desires of several partners can be mentally and emotionally taxing. And it's not uncommon for individuals to feel stretched thin, or for partners to feel neglected.
Mm.
That's kind of, if I was in a poly, I don't want to be in an open relationship. I don't want to be in a throuple. But just say I can do those before I can do a poly.
Right.
Well, I think, because I don't never say never, because I done said never before, and then I end up doing stuff that I didn't, you know what I mean, that I said I never would do. So I try not to ever say never. But I think the poly would be the most hard for me to be in, because then just trying to, like they say, stretching yourself thin, and depending on how many are in that relationship, I think most of us have done threesomes. I think we have. I know I have.
Yeah.
I know you have it. I know. Yeah, we have. So most of us have done threesomes. So we're able to manage that. And but also in threesomes, they can catch feelings.
They can.
Because usually, if you're doing a whole lot, you know what I'm saying? You're doing a lot that they like or whatever, and just say they have been, because the ones I had been in a threesome with, they were partners, and they were both they invited me in, because I would not do a threesome or do anything if I'm in a relationship,
right?
But outside of a relationship, like I said, we can do what the hell we want,
right?
But the times that I have done threesomes, that has been with other couples, and then I don't know if it was because they've already were used to each other and stuff, like that they just all gravitated onto me or whatever, but and we talked about this in other lives, how they do circle back around,
right? And
the other one doesn't know,
right?
You know what I'm saying? And I've had it with two of them where like one circled back around and wanted to hook up with me separately, and then in the other one, both of them circled back around and wanted to hook up with me separately, but neither one of the other ones knew, because I asked, and neither of the other ones knew. But then one of them did find out.
Let's see.
One of them did find out. Yeah, that's cheating, because they broke their rules. Because the rules that they had given me was they do this,
right.
like that. And then I do have several friends who are actually in open relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of any that are in throuples, but I do have a friend that was in a throuple. I don't know if they still are in a throuple. And then he explained that all to me a couple of years ago when he was telling me about it or whatever. It intrigued me. It was very interesting. But you know, and then how they maneuver those dynamics and stuff, you know, like that. But I do have several friends that are in open relationships, and we all have friends that are in open relationships, and they don't know that we know that they're in open relationships.
Exactly.
Because some of them have invited us into them, you know, and stuff, you know, like that, even though, you know, they've been couples and they've done it together right in front of us and stuff. So they weren't cheating or doing anything like that, but they've never come out and said we have open relationships or we're in this type of relationship. You just know that's what that they do. Right. We don't know what their rules are. Right. We don't know what their boundaries and rules are because we didn't go messing around with them or anything like that. But we do know people who are in open relationships. And I do have some friends, you know, and then like some of them, they are in it only not the ones they're in it. It's basically where there's just their relationship is open, but they like the companionship of each other, the finances, growing old together, doing stuff together. They're perfectly happy that way, even though they don't do anything sexually. Right. And they may occasionally go out and, you know, find somebody out there sexually out there in the atmosphere somewhere where they may occasionally do something, and they don't necessarily play together anymore, but they have their rules that they can play separately or whatever. I don't know if they got to tell each other or not tell each other, but they do have those rules where they may pick somebody up off the apps or, you know, somewhere else. But their relationship is companionship and like that type of stuff, and growing old together, having somebody with like that type of stuff. But then they will occasionally go play, but they don't play with each other no more. You know, so you know. From what I was told, and I got another one that they do occasionally play with each other, but they prefer to actually play with somebody else. So sometimes I guess the sexual stuff wanes a little bit, and you know as you get older or too advanced in the relationship where you're just not really that into that person no more. You know, I don't know. I haven't been in that type where I wasn't still sexually attracted to my partner or whatever. Now, I don't know if it would have been 20 or 30 years and something might have changed, but at that point, you know, I was in one for 8 and then I was in one for a year. And then I was still sexually attracted to both of them or whatever. And it wasn't dawned on me to go out there and cheat on them now. What they did, that's on them. Right. You know, or whatever. But they still wanted to have sex with me. Right. But it was just stuff, you know, that was in them that made them want to go out and do that type of stuff. But you know, these open relationships and stuff like that, it's the rules. You know, it's your communication and the rules. You know, you have to have these rules.
The rules make you seem like,
oh, master. Okay, rules.
Don't say.
I mean, okay, boundaries. Boundaries.
So look, I have a question. So when Dre was talking, I was thinking about, okay, so you can live a poly life and not be in a relationship, right? Just like you can live a monogamous life and not be in a relationship.
Say that again. You can be in a poly.
You can be the polyamorous lifestyle and not be in a relationship. Just like you can be monogamous and not be in a relationship. In other words, that could be your dating thing, or you know, your whatever you want to call it, whatever. But
no, you can't be poly. Poly, you have to be in a relationship in order to be poly.
So where I'm going to is, so for me, I see that different. I can see you living a poly life because you just want to be with a lot of different people, but not necessarily be in a relationship.
Well, then you're just out having sex with a bunch of people.
Poly says you're in a relationship.
Yeah, in order to be in a polyamorous relationship, you have to be in a relationship with 3 or more people.
So that's what I'm getting at.
With 3 or more people, but you're in a relationship.
So what I'm
getting, it can be closed.
So what I'm getting at. So for me, I think poly, they can do whatever they want to do with all these different people and not be in a relationship. these people right here, they can be poly as well, but have decided to be in a relationship or whatever. So for me, I'm thinking if these people are being poly and just doing with everybody and not necessarily committing themselves to a relationship, what is making a poly person that is free to be poly with anybody now decide I want to be poly and be bound to a relationship? Because my thing is, if I feel like, why get in a relationship if you can just be poly and just be doing it with everybody?
But then you're not in a relationship with other people if you're basically you're single. That's what you're talking about. You're just single and you're just having sex with a bunch of people. That's just single and you're just having sex with a bunch of people. Okay. In order to be poly, just like throuple, in order to be in a throuple, you have to be in a relationship with 3 people. You can't be in a throuple with just yourself or 2 people.
Right.
A poly is going to be more than 3 people.
Like have to be
a poly is usually more than 3 people. It's like 4 or more people or whatever. Y'all and you're sharing your common goals, you're sharing, you're doing, it's like it's a marriage, but you're just not legally married.
And everybody has consented to it.
Right. Yeah, you're in a partner relationship, but it's not just with one partner. You have several partners. Because otherwise you're just single
you're just single
and out there being a hoe.
Or just having an active sex life. Well,
we can be hoes.
You can be that.
We can be hoes.
That's why I said or.
It can be an active sex life, but according to society and the definition, you need hoes and hoes and sluts and all that type of thing. YouTube is going to probably ban our video.
Oh, wow.
All this stuff that came out of our mouth. Yes, but it says like poly can be a way to explore connection outside of marriage or to refine what it means to love. Some say poly can lead to deeper connection. We already talked about that. So, but it says navigating poly relationships. Okay, 1, focus on shared values. Prioritize shared values, realistic expectations, and safety concerns. Communicate. Okay, negotiate agreements, ask questions, and allow for flexibility. Number 3, avoid rules based on power. Rules that imply punishment or are based on power differentials can cause conflict and resentment. So, and it says, let's see, one of the most significant challenges in polyamorous and managing time and energy. We already talked about that. So we're probably about to wrap up here. I do have this here though, because that was on the list. You remember that list that I had put up there? It was on
the opening the chart.
Yeah, it was on that chart. That was the relationship, the relationship anarchy, relationship with no rules or similarities or whatever. So I want to talk about that just before we get out of here, because that was interesting to me. But but here, this was interesting too. It says, how does a gay throuple relationship start? It says, in general, 2 men, we're talking about gay relationships, I guess. 2 men start as a monogamous couple, but to add up the spice in their life, they invite a 3rd person for a threesome. Threesome pleasure only to realize they have fallen in love with each other and end up in a gay throuple. So they're saying like throuples end up starting like where you're monogamous in the relationship, right? It's just you 2, but then if one catches feelings for the other or both catch feelings for the other, then they want to join and become a throuple. So you think that's how throuples start?
I mean, that could be a possibility, but I think has to initially, I would think, start from sex.
So I'm thinking.
Y'all had some kind of vibe together, and y'all, y'all fucked around, and now you having good sex, and so you want to keep it going. So you evidently they're already open because they've already allowed you in there, so they're open. So they probably have already considered maybe if we do find that one that really, puts it on us, let's consider that person being in our relationship. So they probably have already thought they probably actually brought it to that person. That person probably wasn't even thinking that. They were like, I just came here for a threesome. But they probably felt like, you know what, this could be the one. You think we should bring it up and see what he may be into it, But I did want to say this. So I know a couple that they are polyamorous or whatever, and they did tell me that I thought was interesting that when they're location, let's just say they're in a particular city and state.
Right. Tell their names and
well, I'm not gonna say
all
names.
that other type of stuff.
But I could have said but they're in a particular city and state, right? And when they're there, they will if they do anything, they do it together. But then if they're out of the city or out of the country, they'll do things separately. Like, the rules can change or whatever. And I was asking why is that, and they were like saying, when we are away from home, we're more anonymous. People don't know us or whatever. So you kind of feel like, you're not going to be judged by anybody, or no one's going to recognize you. You're not going to run into anybody. And then they also said, like, at home, you have all these expectations of what people think you are or whatever. So if you do something like that, you don't know how they're going to, they may not accept it or whatever. So now you don't have the pressures of it or whatever when you're away. And then some people just get into that adventure. Like, we in the new, like, even when we was in San Juan, if I was there with like Roger and Michael, when we went to that castle and stuff, we probably wouldn't have done that. That's too much walking, too much sweat. That's too much sweating now. What,
Dre, we be everywhere. When we go on vacation, so we go places, we be everywhere. We ain't worried about that walking.
But
We
because
did everything.
but I could feel like once I was there, I want to go out and see things or whatever.
Yeah.
So sometimes when people are away, they get that feeling like, okay, yeah, I'm up for the challenge, I'm up for the adventure or whatever. And then they have less, like we said before, they have a less chance of them running into somebody they may know, and then it gets around the whole town or whatever, because even though we are a large community, we are small as well, and everybody knows everybody been with everybody or whatever. So when I'm out the country, it's more, we don't have to worry about this getting around. So I did want to share that because I actually asked some people, and they were like, I thought that was interesting that they only will, and then some of them, they are closed here, but then when they get out, they're open.
Right.
But this couple, they're open here, but when they're open here, they do it together. But when we're out the country, you can do your thing, I can do my thing.
Right. And then that's where some people do play when they're out. But that's the same thing, but people play when they're in there, like some people don't even, when they're in monogamous relationships, or you think you're in a monogamous relationship. Well, when just say one of those couple persons is out of town, then that's where some of the cheating can come in. They may not do it in their hometown or anywhere around, but then they go out of town or somewhere like that, or get on a cruise ship or do something like that, and then they may get out there and cheat because they know that nobody's going to find out about it, or whatever. And a lot of people do stuff out of town, and they say women are good at that.
I bet
women are better. Women do it more than men out of town. Men do it just anytime a lot of times. But women, when they get out of town or do something like that, sometimes they'll cheat on these exotic vacations and do stuff, like that.
Okay.
But it says in most cases, one partner is usually acquiescent to the other, meaning they may be less invested or less excited about the idea of an open relationship. while terms may be agreed upon in theory, in practice, the partners may not fully agree to the same terms. You know, and that's what we talked about earlier is, you really don't want an open relationship, but you're acquiescent to your partner. And then so you go and do it. And then that eventually that brings in, a lot of, jealousy and hurt and pain and stuff like that. But this is what I want to get to this right here. We did the potential pros of monogamy, and then here's the cons of monogamy. Some of the cons is difficulty staying faithful. Some people may find it difficult to remain faithful in a monogamous relationship. Number 2, incompatibility. Monogamous couples who disagree on fundamental issues may have a difficult time reconciling those differences. Number 3, unrealistic expectations. Monogamy can come with societal expectations that can be difficult to meet. Number 4, perceived failures. Perceived failures in a monogamous relationship can lead to feelings of guilt, inadequacy, and disappointment. And then, I keep saying that, but I ain't even gotten down to it yet. Serial monogamous. Okay. and the name is kind of, it's the way, that word serial monogamous is kind of alluding because it makes you think that the person is monogamous, like they can't do anything, I have to be monogamous. I'll never cheat. That's not what that even means. That's not what that even means. People from my job texted me. Next Thursday, they want to meet up for dinner and stuff. But it says serial monogamous. A person who moves from one romantic relationship to another very quickly, spending as little time single as possible. Some serial monogamists might have short-lived relationships, while others, I'll read this ticker, y'all, while others might have long-term relationships. The determining factor is that you're seldom single. Isn't that word, serial monogamous, doesn't that make you think that the person is monogamous? But they get it, the serial monogamous, they go from one relationship to the other, right. And then they may be monogamous in the relationship, but they're not going to be in the relationship long because they're really going to cheat, right? And they got to get out of that relationship, and then they'll get into another. It's almost it reminds me of narcissistic people, but they get out of the relationship. The relationships don't last for long. Right. They get in there and then they just start.
I'm monogamous, but I'm monogamous for a time limit.
Yeah.
And then I'm going.
And then I'm gonna dump you. And then I'm gonna get another. And then I'm gonna get in another.
But most people see monogamous being with somebody for long term.
Right.
But they say it as like, well, I've been monogamous, but you weren't with them for maybe like 1 or 2 weeks.
And it says, so with serial monogamous, it says the pattern carries an increased risk of possibility of STI diagnosis, limited emotional connection with romantic partners, and a lack of stability. Serial monogamy can impact a person's mental health as they struggle to connect with others and maintain a stable, healthy relationship. And then I can see that, because if you're running from partner to partner, because we don't never know what anybody has. Right. They can say that they're this or they don't have this or whatever, but if you're constantly, you're monogamy here or whatever, but then you get out of that relationship and then you go get with somebody else, and then you bring something that they have, and then you get out of that one and you get in with somebody else, and you're bringing their sexual juices and all that other type of stuff, whatever. Even though I don't know if they're cheating or whatever, but it just sounds like that's somebody that's a serial cheater. I thought that was interesting. What'd you say, Dre?
It's a lot of people do that and don't even know they're serial. What is a serial monogamy?
Serial
They don't know that they do it. You know, they just be on it so much from one person to the other, looking for somebody else. And we know people like that.
Yeah,
You know, a lot of people like that. They don't know it.
And so where do y'all think that this comes? Where do y'all think that our value systems come from as far as our sexuality, our relationships and stuff, you know, like that? Where do y'all think this comes from? Not, you know, before we even get into open relationships, because, you know, once you start getting into open relationships, you know, you're really getting away from the heteronormative way society says you're supposed to be, you know, find one person, get married, have kids, and live this, you know, whatever and stuff, you know, like that. Once you start getting into open relationship throuples and stuff, you know, that really takes you out of the realm.
Right. You out there now.
You know, really of monogamy and stuff. But where do you think that our values come from as far as like why we think we have to be in a closed monogamous relationship?
I think initially you just go with what you see and what you experience. You know, mom and daddy, they're together, and you know, I mean, for the most part, I mean, if there was some cheating, you know, they didn't really let us know, or whether they dealt with it behind closed doors, or maybe when we got a certain age, they may have told us or whatever. But I think you go by what you see, what you experience. You know, I can speak to the religious side. You know, church is telling you, it's Adam and Eve. You know, it's a man and a woman or whatever. So we, you know, it's what what you were brought up in, what you were trained in or whatever. So I think that's what shaped our views. And then eventually it's the more you get exposed to the world and all it has, I think that kind of shapes you, your friendships, you know, just going to school, researching, being able to read, and you know, TV. There's so much out there, the internet, you know, whatever. So your views may change on how knowledgeable you come over, you know, the course of that or whatever. Like they say, know better, do better, or whatever. So that's what I think.
It was different for me because you know, I know you mentioned like you saw your mother and your father in love and stuff. Let's see, you know, I grew up in a single parent home, so I really didn't see my father. And I always saw my mother single. I didn't really see her even date that much. You know, she mostly took care of her 3 boys. I knew, you know, as far as sexual values and things like that, I knew, you know, for going to church and things like you mentioned, religion, I knew that I was supposed to, you know, get married, you know, and you're supposed to wait, and then you're supposed to get married, and then you're supposed to have kids. But I always knew that wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So, so it was different. It was different for me because when I came into the gay lifestyle, you know, I didn't really see couples. You know, I just saw men basically being whores. Right. You know, if that was the lifestyle that I saw. So that's kind of how. I mean, I'm in my 40s now, but back then I was fast as hell, you know, because that's how it was. Right. You know, thank goodness, you know, I didn't get the bad side of it, like, you know, catching anything, but that's you know, I see it differently now that I've had opportunities to, you know, to get to know some people. You know, I've been in very little relationships, and that might have something to do with it because of how, you know, I was brought into the lifestyle. But that was, you know, that played heavily on, you know, my values as far as, you know, as sex, because that's how, you know, that's when I came into the lifestyle, that's how it was, you know, and when I did date, you know, it was, you know, it was cool when we dated, you know, it was, you know, we had our intimate moments. It was different than just being with some random person. But me personally, you know, just the way I was introduced to the lifestyle, kind of, it played a big impact on, you know, sex value, you know, sexual values and things like that. So it was a lot different than, you know, way different than tradition.
So how did you see it as like with heterosexual people though? You know what I'm saying? Because they're doing the same stuff that we were doing or whatever. You know, because you saw a lot of sex when you came into the community, but even in heterosexual out in the straight world, there's a lot of sex. Even though none of us are having this much sex, and we always say, you know, whatever, tell people that, you know, what if you're bragging about it and stuff a lot, but there is still a lot of sex stuff going on out there. But then, so like, did you see it more sex in the gay community, you think, than you saw in the, because the heterosexual people hid it, they didn't broadcast it or put it all out in your face like that, or how,
Because with heterosexuality is more accepted. So I saw more relationships with heterosexuals than I did with gay folks. When like I said, when I first was brought into, in the gay lifestyle, it was always, back then, you had to be DL, it was hidden, and I didn't really see, and then me coming from, from the South and from, from being brought up in church all the time, I didn't really see that many gay people, until I got into college. But, I just always thought, oh, this is how it is, when you're around gay folks. I don't really see like, boyfriends, together and things like that. If I saw anything, I saw most of the gay, it was, in the club or porn. And then, and the more I started, being around gay people, I started seeing relationships, dudes in relationships. But I didn't see it as, I saw it as, I saw more, traditional, man and female, right. Being monogamous. I saw it more on the heterosexual side because that's what I was brought up around, and that's how I was, pretty much brainwashed to believe that's how it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Right. So, that's how I saw it back then. I see, now that I'm older, I see gay relationships all the time, right. And I've seen successful gay relationships, right. But back then when I was 19, 20 and 20, first being introduced, I didn't really see that with gay men.
So did you think that heterosexual relationships were better than gay relationships? Because that's you with the religion and growing up the family. So you thought that maybe they were the gay relationship. I mean, the straight relationships were. Did you see them as better than gay relationships, and that gay people don't? I mean, that straight people don't do the same stuff that gay people do. Did you somehow think that like the stuff that like even with three ways and throuples and the bears and the the underground stuff and all right. that they say gay people do all the time, but right. straight people actually do all that stuff too. All that D&D and swing and swing, they do all that stuff too. But when gay people do it, it's just like maybe because we talk about it and express it or whatever. But then they see it as such a like it's wrong, or whatever. So even though they're doing it too.
But see, I didn't ever see that side. I didn't ever see that side because that's not what I wanted. That wasn't me. I was gay. I was gay. So I really didn't see. I just knew. I mean, I knew that that straight people cheat and stuff like that. But I didn't really get in depth. As far as seeing what all straight people do. I was interested in what gay folks did, and that's how I saw like the bears and all on the leather and all this stuff. And I knew it happened on the straight side too because I looked at when I did sneak and look at porn, I looked at straight porn too.
Yeah, right.
But me going into what I was into, I was into the gay lifestyle. That's what I saw, right. And I didn't see much. I didn't think that. Heterosexual was, cleaner or better. Mm-hmm. I just knew that from what I had experienced and what I had seen from gay folks, from straight people, which wasn't much. That's how it was brainwashed, how it was supposed to be, mm-hmm. In a marriage, right. Man, wife, kids, and things like that. That's how I was brainwashed and trained how it's supposed to be. Yeah. So I kind of left it at that. Yeah. But I knew there was cheating going on, and I really didn't care if once I started dealing with gay people, I really didn't care what as far as what straight people were doing.
Right.
And all
you
that.
Worry about what you doing.
Yeah.
Right. What gets me off?
Right. So I kind of left that at like let that over that way it would.
Yeah.
You know.
And like you said, cheating can happen on both
Oh, yeah.
sides. It does, right.
Yeah.
So it's like, who's to say one is better than the,
Right. No, it definitely happens on all sides. Sometimes with gay people, though, they make it out like we're so promiscuous that we can't be in a monogamous relationship. Sometimes even gay people think we can't. You know, they think that none of us are capable of being monogamous or whatever. Everybody doesn't cheat. You know,
Yeah.
Granted, most people do. You know, just because of the world that we live in, but just because of the way animals are structured, to actually not be monogamous, because even in the animal kingdom, that one male can be getting all them damn females if he wins the rights to it. You know what I mean? And we're really built up the same way, but just through religion and stuff, like that, and family values and stuff is where we came to be, where we said we got to be monogamous.
Right. This is the way.
Like that. This, whatever. But that's not how life, Earth. I mean, life started out with humans. That's not how it actually started.
And they was with everybody. Some of them was with their own relatives,
And they are, kings and queens and stuff, all incest and they still do some of that. They marry their first cousin, brother, sister. All throughout history, they did all that type of stuff. And if you want to go back to the whole Adam and Eve thing, they would have had to been sleeping with their mama, whatever, in order for more children and stuff to be born.
Because she was the only woman.
She was the only woman. So and then Adam didn't give them, bring forth all them kids. That means they had to grow up and probably sleep with her too. And then a daughter had to be born, and they had to sleep with her. That's why that whole Adam and Eve thing is just a story. It ain't even real. But if you want to go by that theory, then So and it really can't be true anyway, because according to the King James version of the Bible, it was Adam and Eve, and she only had two sons. She had two sons, and the other one killed the other one. So where did these women come from? Where did these women come from that had to bring forth all these other babies according to that? But, but people believe what they want to believe. Let me see what we got here. Somebody.
Hey, triple T.
Hey,
it's a nice fish tank. It is nice. It's beautiful. I don't know if we saw Deshaun's.
Yeah, I had put Deshaun's. I had put his comment up there a little while ago. Hey, Throuple, thanks for joining us.
You know, he done said more.
Huh?
Like he done said more.
Oh no, I put all. I had put all that stuff up. Yeah, we talked about it. And I had put all that.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, and we're back. We're really done.
I know.
Yeah,
we over our little time.
Yeah, we're practically we're basically done here. But yeah, it a lot of it stems from back like that, because even back in that time, nobody was monogamous.
No.
And they had several, kings and queens, and even villagers and all that stuff. They all had several wives, and they had, some of them had hundreds of children by all them different wives and stuff like that. There really was no such thing, I don't think, as monogamy back in that time. And if you really look at it, all of them were open. They were open, or all were in polyamorous relationships.
Because there were no restrictions. We started putting restrictions on ourselves, and we base it on whatever religion or whatever, disease. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, it was like we were for everybody back in the day. It was like whatever.
All right, you got any closing thoughts, Dre? I mean, well, we'll let Dre go, and then we'll let you go, because Charles has his closing thoughts on our show.
No, for the last part I came in, I just thank you for having me over.
Anytime.
Well, thanks for coming.
Can I just wave like that? They can't see me anyway.
Well, you have to be over there. Come over here.
Come over and stand next to me.
Get in the middle.
Come over here. They can see you.
Right here.
They can see you. Hey, you can see yourself. Look down there.
Okay. Yeah, that's me over.
This is Dre. He's single.
and he
look,
likes to be single.
he's single and ready to mingle.
He might be ready to mingle, but I don't know if he's ready. I don't know if he want to be like getting to know relationship or not. That ain't you. Not right now. I mean, he might later, but like right now.
Okay.
He ain't relationship material.
Why you putting your business like that? Like,
He'll tell you
I'm not.
He be the first one to tell you.
well, that's you do want that, and you know, before that's why I said, like, if I meet you, I think that's gonna come out because I want to make sure I'm not wasting your time, and we're not wasting each other's time. So I'm gonna ask those kind of questions.
And I, you know, I don't just come right out and ask that, you know, because even with me with dating, it takes me a while to date you before I get into any type of sexual stuff, you know, like that. It can be weeks or something if I'm dating you and we're really feeling each other. Right. And we like each other or something. It can take me weeks and stuff to actually get into anything sexual or whatever. Even to broach those type of comments, and I mean that subject or whatever. But once, if I feel like it's, you know, like I really like you and I would like a relationship with you, and I feel like you might want a relationship with me, or somehow you talking, you know, we talking about relationships, and if we start moving in that direction, then I'm going to ask about monogamy, right? You know, and then you're going to know that I'm built for monogamy. Right. Like I said, outside of a relationship, I can screw around and do whatever I want, you know, or date and do, you know, date anybody I want, you know. And no, everybody, I'm not out there just having sex with everybody, you know, or whatever. I haven't even done anything since my relationship ended, so, you know, not like that. But you know what I mean? I'm just not, you know, I'm built for monogamy, and then if we're going to go towards that, then I'm going to
just tell them all your business.
Well, I don't care. I mean, it's online. You got to be honest. But then, you know, I'm gonna go towards, you know, I lean towards monogamy. In a relationship, I have never cheated. I can say that I've never cheated or stepped outside the relationship. You know, but I can say that. Like I said, I can't never say never because shit. You know, who the hell knows whether you might end up in an open relationship, you know, where you might consent to it. You know, sometimes the older you get, your views and stuff change, you know, or whatever and stuff, you know, like that. Mine haven't changed on that yet, but I don't know what's out there for me in life or what's going to happen. But there are us out there who are geared towards monogamy, but I don't think most people are geared towards monogamy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then it's like Deshaun says, it's almost like finding a needle in a haystack, right? Of, you know, of somebody who is truly monogamous, because they're going to tell you that they are, because they want to get in a relationship with you, you know, or whatever. And then they say that too, like, you know, where they'll tell you they want to be monogamous, they get into a relationship with you, and then it's like, well, I got you now, so now I'm gonna go do what I'm going to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go cheat or go do whatever and stuff. Once they know that they have you, you know, whatever. And I think that's foul. Yeah. You know, I do think that that's foul. You know, whatever. But give us the option. You know, give us the option. Right. You know, let me be single and do whatever I want and have sex with whoever I want. Don't pull me and say you want to be in a relationship and then you're not going to be monogamous when you know that I am. Right. You know, and you know that you like to cheat, or you want an open relationship or something, or if you even want a throuple. You know, or if you want to be in a polyamorous relationship, talk about that before you get into the relationship, so you can give the other person an option, because that other person might say, "Yeah, that's what I like that too." Yeah, you know, or let's try that, you know, or something like that, or get in there and give yourself some time, get into a closed relationship, give yourself some time, and see if maybe, you know, maybe an open relationship may work better for y'all, or maybe the closed one may work better for y'all. But give yourself some time, you know, or whatever. But you know, and there's no judgment. You know, be in the type of relationship that suits you. You know, just don't include the other person if that's not them or whatever, because then hurt and pain is fun. So shoot, Charles.
And so if you do make that decision to be in that, you know, polyamorous relationship or throuple, I would say these are some things that you should keep in mind. Make sure that you guys have clear boundaries that you've already talked about, you know, how this is going to work, you know, and make room for all the things that could happen or what, all the risk or whatever. You could fall for this person, or you could start sneaking, and we're gonna consider that cheating or whatever. If you go outside, got the name, everything that you want, think about that or whatever. What if jealousy arises? How are we gonna discuss that? Because jealousy could arise. I might start liking this person, or I might think you like that person more than me now, whatever. So now, that jealousy is out there. So how are we gonna deal with that? And then if we come to the point where, this is not going to work, how are we going to exit? Are we going to remain friends? Do we need a little time away from each other because we got the connection, but it's just something that is not, keeping us together. So we may kind of still want the friendship after this. So how is that all going to work out? You ain't going to never speak to me again. If I see you, it's like, fuck you. How, think about all that. And last but not least, of course, be open and have the communication. Like, you constantly have to be talking about, what each other wants, and if anything changes, because we may have initially agreed to this, but somewhere in there now, you want to do something more adventurous, or you want to bring other people in, or you want to do stuff without me, because at first we agreed we do it together. Now you want to do stuff without me or whatever. We didn't agree to that. So, always have those check-ins where, like, let's talk about this maybe like every 3 weeks, or every, every month or whatever, just to check in and make sure we still have those, boundaries. But, all these relationships are gonna look different for everybody. Like Alvin said, no judgment here. I just say, just keep it on a communication level where it's open and it's honest, and you keep everybody, in the loop. And I think if it's for you, it's gonna work. If it's not for you, then you stay with the monogamy or whatever. But I say that any relationship, you're gonna have your ups and downs. Mm-hmm. And it's whether you guys are gonna fight for it, or you're gonna just part ways or whatever. But either way, you're gonna have things that, those rocky times or whatever, and it's how you deal with them. So if this is something that you want to commit to and you're serious about, I think, like you said, you can go to therapy and stuff, or see somebody, if you're not that good of communicators or whatever. But if it's something you want to do, I say go for it, but talk about it, beforehand. Like you say, don't bring somebody in that's not into it. But if you got that person, be able to have that communication. And if you guys are honest with each other, and you're not hiding nothing or whatever, you already set your boundaries, I think it'll be successful.
Yeah. So I don't know how much this live done froze or stuck, because I keep seeing this bar on here going up and down.
Oh, we just added somebody else.
Well, I mean, I don't know. So hopefully, I'm sorry, guys and ladies and gents, if it's stuck. Sometimes these lives, you don't know how they go.
Mm-hmm.
With this Wi-Fi. I got the highest band, whatever I can get, but it still sometimes freezes up and glares and whatever. I don't know if it's StreamYard or if it's the Wi-Fi, but I just keep seeing that bar going up and down. So sorry if that's what's happening throughout the video. I know it's happened through some of our other ones. Okay, well, I guess we're going to get out of here. Yeah. And thanks everybody for joining us today. Dre, thanks for popping up in here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Dre is one of my besties.
Yes, indeed.
The other one's down there in Austin, and hey Larry. Larry's been here before. Popped up.
Yeah, he came when we talked about something, Kim Burrell or somebody.
Yeah, he's been in a couple of them when he's been up here.
Oh yeah, he comes in the chat.
Right.
Dre does too.
Yeah, Dre does too sometimes. So, but thanks for joining us, world in Dallas and surrounding areas.
Yes,
and leave your comments, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that like button. That helps us. Helps the algorithm send out our videos and stuff like that. Huh? What'd you say, Dre?
Click that like button.
Click that like button. We do appreciate you all for joining.
We do. Thank you guys for coming.
All righty, and let's get out of here.